one that wasn't here, the one that I looked at? Yeah, the one that wasn't here. I'd like to start with capital. Don't have anywhere near as much as you've had at times. Anyway,
Well, she didn't print me out one of my capitals, so I just go over what you have.
Rick, before we get started, did you see this?
Yes.
People together?
Yes.
Is there a story behind the revenue sequence from 20 to 23? Revenue, the first two was, coming in around 6.9 million, bumped up to 8.2, then all of a sudden it just tailed off and down to 3.5. Is there a story behind that?
So that's a Melissa
I
question.
was looking at that.
Yeah. So the question on the revenues, airport reconstruction, the big, large FAA grants that we were receiving,
Mhm.
that would have been the year we were doing the runway. So we had a lot more offsetting revenue that year, than we did the other years, which is why the budget was higher that year as well.
It cost the town millions of dollars.
No, that's why the revenue was so high, because we were getting 95% of all that money back. We had to put it in the budget, but it was offset 95%, 90% FAA, 5% state, DOT. That's why the revenue was high. You can come in and see all the old budgets, and I can show you where we had those in there. These numbers are taken directly off of Ruth's, tax assessing paperwork that she does at the beginning of every year once we get the budget set.
It's an accounting zero sum game.
But you can come in anytime and see Ruth around, and we can show you those, assessing papers.
I'm sure I'm not the first one to ask that question.
No, and it's a process to get to the numbers. So Ruth is a pro, and Tracy and I sit and we all know we can triple check each other's numbers as we're doing the paperwork. It's a 3-step.
So it was explained in one of the last meetings, it makes sense.
Yeah.
So moving forward,
Mhm.
projection on that.
This year, what I gave you guys a couple weeks ago for the revenue, that'll probably change a little bit because I have not put his apron reconstruction, stuff in there. But it'll have a null, effect on the budget because he has money set aside for the town's 5% of this grant, and we've got the FAA grant for 90% and the state DOT grant for 5%. So he'll put the apron reconstruction in the capital, but we're gonna offset it 100% in the revenues. So, and revenues, I think, are gonna be up a little bit this year over last year because the state revenue sharing numbers are in, and I believe last year our revenue sharing was just under or just over $1 million, and this year they're projected to be $1.5 million.
Earlier on, you had given us a sheet that ran out, and I think it was capital investments for 5 years.
Mhm.
And that's really good. Does the town do a 5-year plan on budgets,
No,
just on capital?
just on capital.
So you don't try to model through
No,
what you think is gonna happen over the next 5 years,
no.
or 3 years, or any time. There's no forward looking,
We're a year at a time.
no forward looking.
No.
that's something that we can look at some point in time?
I
Most
suppose it
successful
could.
businesses do
The-
have
the-
forward-looking.
The operating budgets run pretty well. Other than inflation, they simply follow themselves.
Well, I guess, and I've only done this for 2 years, but forward-looking projections help with those surprises that we see year after year. And so it kind of sets the stage, and you never get it right. It's a projection, it's an estimate. But it kind of gives a signal of where we're going and whether we need to make adjustments. And then when we get there, how close were we to our projection and why were we off or over, you know? And so you get a chance to pat yourself on the back, or you get a chance to say, let's look at this and try to come up with a better mousetrap.
Even if you can't cost it out entirely, even if you can only put just row numbers at it, just have something
Best
versus
guess.
zero, best guess.
We have, over the last few years, budgeted what we think is reasonable to operate these departments, and we've managed to operate under the total budget all the way across.
And we have seen that in the data provided.
Okay?
Yep.
Good. So I would like, this is Dennis Boone, Public Works and Transfer Station, and I would like to start with him on his capital. Okay. Start capital instead of operating budget.
There's a couple of adjustments, and I'll inform you as we go along. It changes our bottom line, and I have them all marked out on my copy here, and I'll explain them as we come along. I did this budget back in February, so a little bit more recent estimations. So there has been some small changes. Talking with the capital budget, first line here is Public Works road construction. I don't know if you know this, we took out a bond 3 years ago. We accelerated our paving program. Basically, did 2 years worth of paving in each year. That was in an effort to get our streets back into a condition that we thought that they should be at this point in time. We have achieved that goal. And so now the budget was $850,000 for the past 3 years. So that was the bond money we were using. We've finished that program now. As I said, we have been successful. And so our request for capital goes back to an historical number. It says here 300,000. The latest roadway committee felt that we should raise that to 400,000. And so that's my first adjustment is with the capital budget from 300,000 to 400,000. Road repair and improvement. That's asphalt repair, asphalt paving. Each year we have a paving plan that we paid a consultant, Roger Picard, to generate for us, and we followed that along. Like I said, we did 2 years in each of the first 3 years of the plan. So we're actually in year number 6 of the plan. And we did that purposely, accelerate the paving because we were so far behind in years past. We budgeted $70,000 for paving. You don't get very much paving for $70,000. I mean, really in this day and age, you don't get a whole lot for $300,000. And so the roadway committee, we felt that we should raise that sum to 400,000.
At 70,000, which had been sort of traditional, we're falling behind.
Falling way behind.
You're lucky if you get a driveway.
What's your cost per mile for overlay? I'm assuming you're doing like a skinny next 3/4 inch.
We don't get a cost per mile, we get a cost per ton. And because our paving plan might be a 1/10 of a road, Academy Street, for example. And so we don't have a straight mile. Last year we paid $90-some per ton.
So you've never calculated what you get for that cost per mile?
Each year it changes. There was years that the paving was $70 a ton, and then we calculate the cost per mile. We haven't done any roads in my tenure that were not previously paved. And so it was almost always a shim and overlay program. We have reclaimed just a very few roads, but we haven't paved any from scratch. That may change sooner as opposed to later. But the upcoming paving plan will be establish roads, the 5 worst ones that are in need of paving: Frost Street, Mohawk Road, and the 3 spur roads in North Lincoln: Town Farm Road, Sweet Road, and Bagley Mountain. Those will be the next roads paved. And this, you're looking at $250,000 probably for each one of those roads.
So $90 a ton?
A ton.
How many feet of road can a ton do?
Not very many. I don't know the exact numbers off the top of my head.
Well, the rule of thumb, Dennis, you can use is, it's 120 pounds per square yard per inch.
120 pounds per square yard per inch. Yeah.
I've done it for 40 years. It will vary back and forth, but if you look at that, because you're running probably a 3/4 inch, what they call a skinny mix.
When we paved Fleming Street out here, we did that in preparation for this Main Street job, and we wanted to get that road in as best a condition we could because it was going to be increased traffic. And that was 1.5 inch overlay on that shim, and then 1.5 inch overlay on that.
You're grinding it down first.
Shim and overlay is not a grinding down in most cases. This Main Street out here will be ground down a number of passes to get the right profile that we're looking for.
Yeah.
The contractor's doing all that.
Right. Yeah. That's under the contract.
And I don't know if you know this or not, but the shim, the mill will be here next week to grind Main Street.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Dennis, if we're gonna spend $250,000 like on Frost Street, for instance, that road is terrible. Are we gonna go in beforehand and do adequate cross drains, adequate underlayment, so we don't have to address that again 10, 15 years?
That's been our plan, and that's been our general practice, Sheldon, moving forward. We've changed all the drains that were made of metal. The plastic ones we didn't. And really whether they needed changing or not, simply because I didn't want to have to tear up a road in 1 or 2 years into it. Exactly what you said. We try to do the ditching before, and so we're not marring the surface, and we try to do whatever under drain repairs that need to be done at that time. Okay.
What's the life expectancy of when you repave the street?
10 to 12 years, according to the plan that we have. It's a 13-year plan that does the entire town, the entire paved roads of the town. It does not allow for any additional paving or roads that are not paved.
Okay, so the road that you paved this year should be in reasonable shape 10 years from now?
Should be.
Unfortunately, it doesn't.
No,
Within a year, any cracks that you had in the existing pavement, if they're not dealt with, which mostly it's a subgrade issue at that point. But you can't afford to rebuild roads at $3 to $4 million a mile, which is complete reconstruction.
No, that was the point of my question, that no matter how good the pavement is, if the base is no good, it's just gonna keep on cracking.
it's only as good as what you put it on. Correct. Right. We've worked with a consultant, Roger Picard. You may have heard of him. Sheldon, I'm sure you heard of him. A very reputable guy, and he developed this paving plan for us, and we paid him to do it. And so if you look at some of the roads, Bedford Farm Road's probably close to 10 years, fairly decent shape. Some of the other ones around, you're getting some life out of them. Rogers thought we could expect 12 years.
I think the best thing you can do is to continue to improve the drainage, make sure the ditching's done. If you've got to replace the culverts, probably increase them, that's what we're seeing now, more flow. And then basically really watch your posting of the roads in the springtime. Make sure that they don't get abused. That's where you get a lot of damage from the overloads when the road is soft.
We've been diligent about that. I give out the permits. I'm the guy that they have to call to get a permit. And sometimes I give them and sometimes I decline them.
Talking about culverts and drains here on Pleasant Street, why are not they even with the pavement? I mean, I go every day taking the kids to high school, bump, bump, bump. It's a nice pavement, but every manhole there is a couple of inches below level.
We don't usually do the manholes. It's a sanitary district. We do the storm drains.
But there should be some coordination to make sure that the pavement and the caps are at the same level.
We try to do that. We try to coordinate with the sanitary district.
This one didn't work. The whole street is that way.
What street did you say it was?
Is it Pleasant Street where the Legion is?
Clement Street.
So,
Clement.
Yeah, what they have to do is they actually have to take that manhole top off and rebuild it.
yeah, I know. But there's, because the pavement is new, but it's strange that,
But that's a metal rebuild.
Sometimes you can get it up with metal, but you can't get it too high. Eventually, you have to pull the whole frame off and mortar up to get it back to grade. And frankly, they're pretty expensive. They're $1,500.
But for plowing, it must be better to have them lower than higher.
Yeah, you don't want them over the surface.
We don't even want them a quarter inch higher than the level of the street because the plow will rip them right off.
yeah, no.
Those drains should have been a little bit higher. I agree with you on that.
But they're dodgeable.
They're dodgeable.
Do it every day.
There's really only one that's in the. Okay, moving on from there, we have 0431 Public Works plow truck, lease payment for plow truck to replace truck number 6. We entered into a new program probably 4 years ago. And so as we lease the trucks now instead of buy them outright. And what that's done is that's cut our maintenance costs down considerably. If you look at the history, maintenance costs were up there 75,000 as much as 2 years ago. There were 59,000 last year, and I'm asking for 51,000 this year. We're saving our money on the maintenance of these vehicles. We have 6-year leases. We get the trucks, we use them while they're in good repair, and then we cycle them out. And that saves us a lot of money on the tail end. The total lease payments for this year are $197,000. We lease 5 pieces of equipment for that money when you can't even buy a tandem axle dump truck for that money right now.
No, the leases come with maintenance package?
They come with a maintenance package. It's limited. We do some of the maintenance, brakes, tires, things of that nature. The in-house mechanic does. More major repairs, like if a transmission went or something like that, they would do. And we also bought the extended warranty in each case.
Now, do we, oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
Now, do we shop around for lease or are we sticking with one company?
No, we have several different companies we deal with now. And so we have shopped it around.
I'm just gonna remind everybody, make sure your microphones are green when you're using it. I didn't see you switch, Sheldon, that's why I was asking.
Screen. Thank you.
This says here replaced truck number 6, and that is the last truck in our fleet to be replaced. This will be the 5th year we've been on it, 4th or 5th year we've been on that. We also lease our loader. And so we have all that equipment for $197,000, and you can't buy a truck for that. The tandem axle dump truck's got $220,000.
So typically, a lease has the option to return it to the owner. It doesn't sound like you're returning it.
We have the option on our lease is we can purchase the truck for a set price at the end of the lease, or they guarantee us 1 year's payment as trade-in for the next one. So say this truck is $46,000. At the end of this lease, we can get that payment, that number as a trade-in on the next one. So we choose to do that.
Is there a mileage or hour limitation?
There's no mileage limitation, but the ones that they do have, we would not even come close to exceeding that. But we put very few miles, comparatively speaking, on these dump trucks. They're in town. They very rarely leave town.
Mhm. What's the biggest thing you see as far as maintenance and repair? Outside of standard oil changes and tires.
It seems as these trucks get older, they start having particulate filter problems. We had to change a kingpin this year, and that's not a half-a-day job. We haven't had any transmission failures lately, but we have had one in a truck we owned. We've had 2 engine failures in trucks that we own, and that's an expensive repair.
Mhm.
We have a very good mechanic in-house, and he keeps our equipment in good shape. And then again, indication of that is the decreased request for maintenance money. But not $20,000 off in the last 2 years. To me, that's pretty good savings.
Now, Dennis, you're talking about equipment lease. And how, you say you got 7 pieces of equipment you're leasing?
I think it is 7.
and we rotate out.
We haven't achieved the end of the life of any of them yet.
Dollar for dollar though, I mean, have we thought about purchasing them and actually keeping them longer? I mean, if you're only putting 15,000 miles on a truck per year, that truck ought to last 30 years, maintained properly.
When we decided to go with the leasing, Sheldon, I did a big program for the council, a presentation, and it clearly showed after 5 or 6 years, the maintenance costs started going up and up and up. And so to avoid that, a cost avoidance of that maintenance plus the downtime, we decided it was best to go leasing, and I strongly agree with it.
I mean, that's the main reason why we hired a mechanic to cycle out the equipment and make sure that it's properly maintained, because in my mindset, I mean, if you're gonna cycle this equipment out every 5, 6 years, it may be smarter to purchase it and get it down the road, because like a front end loader, for instance, you can run at 8, 10 to 12,000 hours.
Front end loader will probably last longer than the lease. The trucks are put out here in the worst possible environment one can conceive. We put it out there. Those trucks are used to put that out there, the salt. Salt eats those trucks up. If you don't look at truck number 5, we just sold that recently, and the salt had corroded that, I mean, just almost to nothing.
You know, I understand that, but you have logging contractors that got 20, 25-year-old equipment out there. It's bringing a lifeblood to them because they're maintaining it properly. And
I think their trucks get maintained properly. I think that they're in the worst possible environment, whereas a log truck's not out there spreading salt. You know, and that's the only environment that these trucks, our trucks, go into. And a log truck doesn't get exposed to that.
I can remember when I was on the council, the statement was made that the fire department was gonna, every once in a while, go around and blow the crap off this equipment. That has never happened.
But we have the capability to wash the equipment ourselves at the garage with a hose, but that doesn't do that thorough of a job. And
that's why you need a 2.5-inch hose to really blow it off.
I've really researched the trucks, the lives of the trucks, and if you look at states out west, they lease their vehicles and they start turning them over 5 to 7 years, and it's not it's the maintenance cost of them that they're avoiding.
Now, you mentioned engine failures, or at least the truck engines themselves.
Mm-hmm.
What was the reason for a failure?
Overheating. Engine failure, the one we experienced was due directly to overheating.
What caused it?
There was a warranty defect?
No, this truck was well past a warranty. It was probably 8 or 9 years old when that engine failed. No warranty was left in it. That was a $34,000 or $36,000 repair.
How many miles was on that?
I can't recall that, Sheldon. It might have been 40,000. It wasn't very many miles, which we never get a lot of miles in these trucks.
So it was a bad water pump or a radiator or something, you said it overheated.
I think it was the water pump that went.
So it
It
was
was in the
on.
middle of a snowstorm. All your mechanical breakdowns always happen in the middle of a snowstorm.
Oh, yeah.
And then, of course, we were pushed up against the wall because we had to have that truck, and the decision was made by the council to put an engine in that truck. If it had happened in the summertime, we probably would not have done that.
So one of the benefits of lease, my experience is number one, if you do have a breakdown, you can call the dealer, he's gonna get another machine in there within 24 hours. Because like you said, you get a snowstorm, can't afford to have that truck there. Same thing with repairs. You've got anything goes wrong with the transmission, motor, or anything, under that lease agreement, you don't touch that. That goes back to the dealer, he brings the truck over. You may get that truck back if they get it repaired, but in the meantime, you've got a working truck. What it says.
I did an extensive study on it. It was very clear that leasing was the way to go. It saves us money in the long run, and we have those benefits that you just spoke of.
Okay, those are in the lease.
Yep, the brakes and moving parts are our, oil change, the tune-up, things like that is our responsibility.
Wear and tear is ours.
If a transmission goes during the length of this lease, they send a wrecker out to get it.
So it's replace or repair?
We had the transfer station, we're not talking about that, but we entered into a lease and we had problems with it within weeks. And they sent a wrecker right out to get it.
So if we lose a plow truck the leasing company has a spare plow truck that we can use?
I don't know if they have a plow truck, but they certainly would have another truck.
So with what you're talking about, Mrs. Perry, that wouldn't work to replace a plow truck.
They'd have to put the wing and everything on the new truck.
Well, I mean, by the time you do that, the repair would be done, so.
And how much of this is really that they just don't build them like they used to?
A lot of it. The truck is very difficult to get hold of now. We're a year or 2 years from order to taking possession. And as the trucks all started coming on top of each other. But the first one we received was 2 years out when we ordered it.
When was that business?
4 years ago.
It must have been 4 years ago. We probably ordered it 5 years ago. And
So you know we had a problem with shipping issue back then.
yeah, they claimed it was components to put the truck together. And the ones we get are built out in Washington State, all the way across the country. So we're waiting for a vac truck now that the council approved 2 years ago. And we've set the money aside both years for it, and we don't have it yet. June now, maybe. But components has been the delay.
Made in China and cheap.
And the price goes up every year, not $5, $30,000 difference in price this year from last year. So and so forth. $220,000.
The one you ordered 2 years ago, is it at a fixed price?
The price is a fixed price, yeah.
Oh, okay.
But if we were to order one last year and order one this year, it's $20,000 or $30,000 difference. It's $220,000 now to buy a tandem axle dump truck.
What do you like for trucks? Ford, International, GMC, what do you find?
I like Freightliners. We get Western Stars mostly because they're usually the most economical ones. We shop around, but usually Western Star gives us the best price. If it was my money, I'd buy a Freightliner.
Automatic transmissions?
I'd rather have a standard. I'd rather have a standard, but they come with automatics now.
Okay, because I was gonna say that the challenge is standard will last you longer if you've got a good operator.
If you have somebody who knows how to drive it.
And you have a
Unfortunately,
consistent.
that's a simple option.
The thing we run into with Public Works is that you get so many different operators because the turnover is such. And you have a guy might stay for a year or two. Now we've been blessed now. We've had some pretty good continuity. The same crew for over 2 years. That doesn't happen that often in the Public Works environment. You see, a truck gets a new operator.
Any fleet.
Now, one guy drives the same truck, lasts a lot longer than 5 different guys driving that same truck over the same period of time.
That's true for any piece of equipment.
So this 46,000 is your a lease for another truck.
It is. That's a yearly payment.
How long is the lease for?
6 years. We got 6-year leases.
And is there any offset to that as far as cycling another vehicle out, any salvage offset? Even if
It's gonna
it's
be-
minimal, right?
You mean like taking parts off of it before it goes back?
Or just cycling another,
Selling the old ones.
selling the old one, just any salvage. And
What I've structured the fleet at Public Works to have one, and it's not a spare truck. It has a job, but if a plow truck goes down, it can go into the fleet and plow.
okay,
So we have an auxiliary plow truck at the garage, and so if this passes muster, we will have 2 trucks and we'll liquidate one of those.
so by doing this, you're kind of increasing reliability. Because you're still keeping that old truck in service.
Number 6 will probably stay, and the truck is there now as the sand truck, calcium truck. It has a number of different jobs. That'll probably go, and number 6 will take that job, take that bill. But we have it, it'll still be there.
So,
So all of the dump trucks that we have are all rigged for plowing. They all have headgear. associated wing and plow.
Do you put that here or the dealer that puts the,
It gets installed by a different company. There's two companies around, Viking Seaways and HP Fairfield. Both do the same work. You can buy a Viking body or HP Fairfield body, and you buy the body, headgear, wing, and plow all at the same time. It's a package.
so that's to show those questions. So if you get a replacement truck, they have to come in and change the gear.
We wouldn't need a plow truck unless we had two trucks go down, because like I said, we have a truck that can go into the fleet.
Okay.
And it's not a spare truck. It doesn't sit there and do nothing. It has a sand route. It goes out on, it's used. But we do have 6 drivers, 7 trucks.
Understood.
Is the storm drain yours too, Dennis? The storm drain is mine, but we're gonna cross that off. The 0195 storm drains, Hale Street storm drain repair. And we decided as a budget committee to incorporate that into a bigger job, maybe next year. There's several different storm drain systems failing throughout town. And it doesn't make much sense to fix one and not the other 2 or 3 that need fixing. And so it was decided by the roadway committee that we would incorporate that into a bigger project possibly next year. So we can cross that completely off the capital. 3 counselors. It's George Edwards, John Trask, and Jared McCarthy.
And what nights do they meet? We was asked to be informed, the White Point Estates, when we said that.
It was publicized, but we did meet a few weeks ago. And we drug our feet on that, Sheldon, simply because of the Main Street project going on out here. And we're going to have to pick up some of the tab on that. So we drug our feet on roadway committee meeting. But it was publicized.
Okay, I'll let them know on White Point Estates.
That what, 575 is for one drain?
One drain system.
Right.
Yeah.
How many drain systems are you looking at?
3 right now are in
What's,
desperate need of repair.
is that 3 times that 575 or?
Probably.
You think that much?
To replace a storm drain system is quite a bit of work. I mean, you tear the road up and get it engineered. It's
Plugs you have?
because the drain system is old. It's very old, and it is deteriorating to a point where we're fixing multiple failures a year, and that's throwing bad money.
The same one?
Or not the same exact, but the same system. And whenever you get a sinkhole anywhere, that's a pipe failure.
The catch basins are collapsing. I was on Main Street from this project, remind me the numbers, we're gonna replace 5 of them totally,
Originally,
and we're at 7 now.
Where is it from?
this is Hale Street. Hale Street's up High Street on the left. Back in Clark and Edwards, it's up in there.
But my point is, these basins are all old, they're all collapsing and failing, and, genuine issues.
Are these precast holes that brick?
Most of the ones that we've worked on have been the old brick block, round block, built manholes. And the mortars deteriorated out of them. We fixed one on Taylor Street last year, the whole side had blew out of it. And the water was coming down, the pipe was deteriorated, the whole bottom of the pipe was rotted out. And the water just came down and came through and washed all that dirt down underneath the cross pipe and down into the lady's yard, which we had to clean, we had to,
Little red.
No.
No.
Metal?
galvanize metal.
Metal.
Put plastic in?
They would be most likely concrete piping.
Why did you go concrete?
I would let an engineer tell me what to put. And we wouldn't do this, we would actually do the work. It's far, much too big for us, for what we are wherewithal. If I didn't have anything else to do, could we do this? We could. But with what we have as resources, manpower, and equipment, take us 2 years to do a job. A contractor who's geared up for that could do it in 1 season.
The town engineer at the moment is Haley Ward.
The right concrete is probably more durable than metal or plastic.
Yeah, I would go with whatever they designed for us and then bid it out to various contractors in that way. We wouldn't really do much there other than I would oversee it. And then that would even be, the engineers would oversee it, but I would be a liaison.
No, it's just a comment of materials, but, I will design concrete and know that too, so lasts longer than that. Okay.
Every time we open one of these up, the pipe is falling apart. Most of the times the bottoms are rotted right out of them. Get in there with a flashlight, get down to one of the basins and look up there with a flashlight, it's 2-foot diameter pipe and it's rotting out of the bottom as far as you can see. And that's a problem waiting to happen. And it's getting more frequent. And exactly, and we put all this salt out and that's deteriorated also.
Has Terry Wood ever recommended slip lining some of these existing culverts?
They've not said that to me. I've only had one discussion with them that this is possibly a project we're going to be looking at. No, I haven't really had a sit-down conversation of what methods might be best for this particular application.
So they're usually coming in, probably running through it with all the old pipes and then putting back, making it.
I would expect that.
I expect that would happen, but they're not working on this project at this time. We have assigned them to do it.
But we've made 0 steps on this other than to identify that there's a problem.
So the 575 is your guess?
That's my estimate.
That was one that question for them, did an estimate for them. That's accurate.
I've been in the construction business for a long time. And I know a lot of these different contractors around here. And just cut it up a little bit and talk about things, and that's kind of the ballpark figure that I came up with.
But when we do have Haley Ward design it, they will be producing an estimated price, and then that will go to bid.
Usually there's a little bit. The engineer will always have the lowest price.
The engineer, well, I don't think Haley Ward's gonna take the job, but they may know who will be.
No, it's an inside joke on contractors. Because the engineers always lowball the estimate. Then it's,
I get that joke.
Then he gets the bids in, and then 20% above that, he gives it back to you saying, this is the best price we got, and the reward is always the way there. They're not gonna do the work, but their estimate is.
The engineer that worked on this Main Street project out here told me, she said, we don't want to be the low bidder.
Yeah.
I got that joke immediately. So anyway, that's going to be part of a bigger, what we decided, what we felt was the best course of action. And so we can scratch that right off this year's budget. Okay, next line is Public Works Department equipment. I'm requesting a new backhoe this year, not because the backhoe at the Public Works is in such bad shape, but the backhoe at the transfer station is in horrible shape. And historically, the transfer station gets a hand-me-down from Public Works. Hands down, backhoe's still got some life in it. Those guys down there use it. Public Works purchases a new one. And I'm looking to follow suit in that process and doing that again this year. The backhoe at the transfer station is nearly falling apart because of deterioration. The salt is just eating it right to. Does it start up and back out of the warehouse? It does. But she's in rough shape.
How old is the backhoe that you have at Public Works?
8 years. 8 years, and if we could get
Now,
7 or 8 more down there at the transfer station, which has historically been about.
how long would you, if you was to buy a new one today, how long would you keep a new one at Public Works?
8 years until it was time to cycle it down to the transfer station. The two are kind of go hand in hand.
Now, how much,
I'm also, I'm sorry, Sheldon, I'm also asking for the transfer station to pick up some of this tab.
now, how much cheaper would it be to buy the transfer station, a new one, and they could keep it down the road for 15 years, and then maybe 2 years from now, look at purchasing another one for Public Works? Because when that was handed down to the Public Works, transfer station many, many years ago, it was a basket case then. So I'm just saying that it don't get the use that Public Works get. We could buy probably a smaller one down there and probably save $60,000, but 2 years from now, address it again and buy Public Works one and get out of that mindset of giving them all the low hanging fruit.
I understand what you're saying on that. I would be very, very hesitant to put a brand new piece of equipment down, a backhoe, down at the transfer station. They get beat up, they work rough work, and we'd have to get the tires filled, things of that nature is all extra cost. And I would be hesitant to put a new piece of equipment such as that at the transfer station. Those are my guys too. But I'd be loath to do that.
My experience, if you give a crew a bad piece of equipment, they're not gonna take care of it as much as they could a new piece of equipment. That's the main reason why we buy a new skid steer down there and that we rented a new truck down there. So I'm just thinking outside of the box that, I mean, I'm not contesting what you're saying there. It's not that bad of an environment. And if we could buy something for $180,000, there's no reason why we couldn't have it down there for 15 years. You know what I'm saying? Dollar for dollar, it might be the smartest thing to do.
The hand-me-down backhoe has lasted down there for 7 or 8 years, however long the one that we had at Public Works has lasted.
And want that go to shape when they got it. That's all I'm saying, Dennis. We ought to readdress that because.
Well, I think Dennis is on to something, particularly more reliable equipment in the critical path. And you think the older equipment, you get that in the market. If backhoe goes down at the transfer station, it's probably not as critical as it is.
100% correct.
So that's a contractor's thing. You put the non-critical equipment, all the older equipment in the non-critical.
No, I understand that, Mr. Perry, but, you know, spending 40 years in the logging industry, but looking at that backhoe, I'm down there quite often. That had rust issues before it went down. It had tire issues before it went down. It had hydraulic issues before it went down. It had pistons that need to be repaired before it went down. Only thing I'm saying is if we bought a new piece of equipment for down there, and then 3 years from now, address Public Works with a new piece of equipment, that would give almost every piece of equipment down there being new. And because we technically don't take care of what we have. I mean, look at the trash trailers. They were supposed to be cleaned off every so once in a while and painted. One of them trash trailers down out of the last 20 years for no more than what we can get use out of it.
The manufacturer that we bought the trash trailers from said we could expect 10-year life expectancy out of it. Those trailers are nearing that now. We'll get a couple years additional out of those trailers. They'll be 13, 14 years out of those trailers before we comes time to cycle them out.
What I'm saying is, Mr. Boland, if you buy a chip trailer and you get 3 loads a day out of that chip trailer, that's 15 load a week. We don't even use 2 of those trailers for 15 load a week. So basically, them trailers ought to be lasting 20, 25 years compared to a brand new chip trailer. That's what I'm saying. But if you just don't maintain it properly, no matter what you got, I mean, you could let a vehicle set out in the elements forever, but if you don't maintain it, it's not going to last.
I would agree that, when we do take a piece of equipment over to the transfer station, we probably ought to make sure we've gone over it, make sure all the hoses are correct, the hydraulic pressure is correct, and make sure it's good working.
Yeah.
But if it's got 3,000 hours on it, you're only using it 5 hours a week, something like that, that's worth it.
Yeah, but I think that's an important point, the condition in which the current backhoe you have is before you transfer it.
What I think Sheldon is saying is buy a new backhoe for the transfer station, and then in 3 years buy a new backhoe for Public Works. That's 2 new backhoes in 3 years' time. Whereas if we buy one for Public Works, shift the old one down there, that's buying 1 new backhoe in 8 years' time.
But both options make sense, but goes back to the condition of the used backhoe that is going to the transfer station. If it's in pretty bad condition, by the time you pay all the maintenance and everything else, if we buy 2 within 3 years' time, it's gonna be 10 or 15 years before you buy another one. So those numbers could work out there, but it goes back to the condition of the backhoe that you transferred.
I think I've listed the backhoe of Public Works in fair condition. It's not beat up. It has a few hours on it. It has a few years on it. Historically, this has been the case how we've done things, and I'm just following suit. But the transfer station needs a different piece of equipment.
That
And
is
what is
what
that?
I do with it, just, what is gonna be the best option, both operationally and financially.
And I think we have to leave that to Dennis because he has done quite a bit of work studying purchase versus lease. And he sees all those pieces of equipment daily. He knows where they are, what they are. And so I think we have to let him.
I believe your numbers were, we're just throwing out some additional ideas for consideration.
Sure.
Do you or have you considered undercoating? That can solve these problems?
We have undercoated the equipment that we have at Public Works and the trucks. Well, they came undercoated, but we do invest in that.
Fuel fluid. Kind of cheap. We do it regularly.
We have the ability to do that. We have the equipment to install that at the garage. The transfer station backhoe is so deteriorated. It's not any sense, really much use of doing the fluid film, but we do that to the equipment at the Public Works.
Now, do the lease vehicles, do they try to take care of them like that, or undercoat them?
We order them undercoated already, and then we keep up with it. And we bought the pickup truck that we use there now, and we bought that. And it came undercoated, and we have undercoated it each year as we've owned it, and all the other equipment too.
Just a comment, in the future, when you're looking for backhoes and loans and stuff, one thing to consider, and I'm not sure if all contractors do it, Sergeant, for example, they will let go of a piece of equipment that's got sometimes less than $4,000. They will actually send that out of state to an auction. And the reason to do that is because they don't want the contractors that they compete against buying that equipment, which they did for years. Now we actually ship it down to Virginia, the rental. But if a town came to, like yourself, and they knew that they were going to sell a piece of equipment to you versus a contractor, they would look at it differently. They'd send it to an auction house down in Virginia. So something we would like to talk about later on, if you let me know that. I can hook you up with the equipment superintendent.
Stop by, we can talk about it over lunch or something. I'd look forward to that.
Next.
Next on the list here is 28 WL Whacker Nuisance Sidewalk Tractor. That is to replace our current sidewalk tractor that did blow an engine this year in a snowstorm. We were somewhat disappointed. We got 7 years out of that piece of equipment, and we bought it from Central White Equipment. And we took down, and I went down there and talked to those guys. It blew an engine. Very difficult to get a replacement engine, and the engine that was available was a retrofit engine, so it wasn't even the correct engine for that. They've gone away from some of the environmental exhaust things that were allowed years ago, and so we looked at, and I talked to several different people who owned this, the new and improved version, the latest model of this sidewalk tractor. The one we have now is a 32 WL. The newest one is a 28 WL. It has a different engine. It has a different hydraulic systems. And of course, the salesmen are going to rave over, how great this machine is. But the folks that I talked to, Bucksport, I talked to 3 different ones. The other 2 escape me right now, but they all said, yes, this was a good machine. And so the sidewalk tractor, even though it's called a sidewalk tractor, we have all the accoutrements for it. We have the street broom, we have the forks, we have the front bucket. And so the machine gets used 4 seasons out of the year. It gets used a lot more than just a snow blade, as one might think from the name of it, that it's only used in the wintertime. It's not. It's used all year long. And we sweep the sidewalks with it, we sweep job sites with it, and we move material with it, we unload trucks with it, we do a lot of things with it. But right now we don't have it, and it's a big loss. And so I'm asking for one this year, and we're going to have to do something. And luckily, we were able to lease a sidewalk tractor last year. It didn't really fit our needs. It didn't really suit our needs, but it did get us through the rest of the winter.
What number is it? On your
0435. And it's the 310 backhoe, and then the next one down is the sidewalk tractor.
So Dennis, if we go with this new one, you said all the attachments will fit over,
All the attachments fit, all the accoutrements fit on the new machine.
and it's a little bit smaller.
It's an inch and a half narrower. Well, this Main Street out here, an inch and a half is a big difference. When you have a half-inch tolerance, when you have a half-inch of leeway, and now you have 2 inches, that's a big difference.
How's the engine? If it's a smaller unit, is it gonna be enough horsepower to run the bigger attachments?
4 more horsepower. The new engine in the new generation is 4 more horsepower than the old. 3-cylinder diesel. And all, like I said, all of our accoutrements fit onto it. It's small, yeah, it's small.
90,000?
It's an articulating machine, articulates in the middle.
How much would that retrofit motor be? 15 grand?
I have an estimate for it in the 40s, Sheldon, 45 or 46,000.
Just for an engine?
And all the accoutrements that need to go with it. All the attachments that need to go with it. And then it only comes with a 30-day or a 60-day warranty. Now, I think it's a bad idea to put an engine into a machine that's not made for that machine. I think
Now,
now that's for problems.
Is that engine rebuildable?
No,
Did it blow a sleeve or a rod or something?
it blew a sleeve out of it. And I have pictures of it where they sent me the pictures, and the top of that piston, the perimeter of it's just deteriorating and scored that cylinder right up.
I mean, if it has replaceable sleeves, you can rebuild engines with sleeves 3, 4, 5 times.
Talking to the folks that were working on it, they were of the opinion that rebuilding it, we were going to cause ourselves potentially much more problems down the road, throw good money after bad. Granted, if a case could be made, it's in their best interest to sell us this new machine, but at the same token, they want our business to keep coming back, which we do because they treat us good. $40,000, $45,000 for a machine is half the price of a brand new machine with warranty.
I would like to see someone look into this and see how much it would cost to rebuild that. Because we just can't continue to throw money at stuff. We have to be fiscally responsible for the taxpayers. I mean, if we can actually physically rebuild that engine for 15 grand, 15 is a lot cheaper than 90 with
I
the
have a
warranty.
written estimate for, I think it's 46,000. I have a written estimate from White Side Central Equipment for 46,000.
How many hours did it have on it?
It wasn't a lot of hours. It wasn't a ton of hours, maybe 2,700 hours. It wasn't a lot of hours. And what they told us is the design of that engine, the turbocharger was mounted in such a way it was right adjacent to cylinder number 3, in which cylinder number 3 is the one that failed. And what they felt is that cylinder just ran hot all the time, just below the temperature that it would give us our overheat alarm. And the heat killed it, is what that mechanic told me. I went down there and talked to him for a couple hours. And I looked at the engine apart. He had it apart and he showed me. He just explained to me.
If that is correct, then rebuilding it will maintain the same problem.
Well, I mean, you know, we've had a lot of equipment. One time we had 140 pieces of equipment on the
I
roster.
understand, but
And
what he explains, if that turbocharger is causing the overheat on the number 3 cylinder, if it's rebuilt and the turbocharger is not changed, it's going to happen.
I mean, you can rebuild, you put a new turbo on it for $1,300. So I still would like to see us look into that. There's someone besides someone that wants to sell a $45,000 piece.
I couldn't get anybody else that I talked to that would be interested in rebuilding that engine. Maybe someone else knows somebody different, but it was the manufacturer of it and it was the generation of it with the DEP exhaust atmosphere. EPA, that's what I'm trying to spit out. And nobody that I spoke to really wanted anything to do with it.
Could you look into it?
I will look into it more. I can say this, that White Signs is holding one of those. They're going in quick demand. and they're holding one for us.
When do we need one?
We need one this year, but if they're only available this summer, then we need to act. We can't go into the next snow season without a piece of.
No, I understand that, but I mean, we don't need it to sweep with or whatnot. I
We
mean,
don't need it to sweep with, but we use it to sweep with. We use it to sweep the sidewalks.
how about your big, okay, I see, I understand that, but
We have a broom attachment for it to sweep the sidewalks. And the sweeper's out now, which we don't have a sweeper for the sidewalk. So it's not the end of the world for that not to get done. But if we had a piece of equipment, it would be out as well, sweeping the sidewalks.
now would that fit on the Bobcat, that boom?
No. The Bobcat at the transfer station?
Or similar, something similar that we could rent?
No.
But, yeah,
And we've put quite a bit of effort into this. This discussion's been going on for a couple of months now. So, I think he's figured out most of the options.
We have very little tolerance out here on Main Street with the light posts, the light foundations, the fence up at the funeral home, the apartment building, number 20 Main Street across the street. Very little tolerance. And this machine is really the only one that I have found on the market that has that capability to fit through there. And that's why it was bought originally, because it fit our needs, our space limitations. We leased a trackless. We were fortunate to get one. There were some places didn't go through. And we were lucky we didn't get a lot of snow.
You get a chance to talk to other town public works directors as far as.
I do all similar.
Exchange ideas and what they're up against and stuff like that. I've been in similar situations.
And yeah, I talked to several. I talked to quite a few of the different public works directors. Usually when I have a question, I'd reach out and make contact. And I have talked to several of the ones that own this piece of equipment that they were happy with. And I belong to several of the Facebook public works groups. And you see a lot of innovative ideas on that. Things that have given us, spawned ideas for us to suit our needs. One of which just today was a roller that fit on the front of your dump truck. It hitched right into the headgear of your plow, and it rolled your streets. And so we rented a roller this year, but if I can get an attachment like that, we might not have to do that in the future.
Vibratory roller.
I'm not sure if it was vibratory or not, but it was a big roller that fit on the front of the dump truck. We leased one this year. We have a vibratory roller at the shop right now under lease. So can we take a 2-minute pause and I can take a break here?
Yeah, sure.
No. Yes.
Thank you very much indeed. Very quickly, about the sidewalk sheet. They're holding one for us now. They probably won't have any more to sell us until after the snow season starts. And so I think we need to act on this. We can find one different, but I have not been able to. And my foreman sits next to me. He's my research guru. And when I ask him to research something, he does a thorough job of it. So,
You know, I understand what you're doing, Dennis. You're trying to do your due diligence, but I remember when we had that discussion to purchase this piece of equipment. At that time, I got a price on a John Deere tractor with all the implements for like 40% of the cost of what we paid for this. And I'm not saying if we would have bought that, it would have been a better fit. I'm just saying that, if we're gonna spend 90 grand versus 45 to put the new one in, maybe we ought to look at getting a John Deere tractor with all the implements for 45, 50 grand. And we could use it other places in this town. You know,
I am told, this is before my time, I am told that we bought a John Deere tractor for the sidewalks and it lasted one season. Had a man outside in the cold. And that tractor went over to the cemetery department and then we bought a trackless, MK trackless. And the MK trackless now is 150,000 as compared to the 90,000 for this.
you know, I understand that, you know, but I think we ought to look at all the options and, you know, and just because every municipality has this specific piece of equipment, if it's gonna fail 4 years down the road and we expect to buy another one because we're not really using it to the advantage, we ought to look outside of the avenue on getting something that's more versatile. You know, you can get a nice all-wheel drive tractor with a snow blower for the front, a broom for the front. You could put an underbelly mower on it that you could use somewhere else in the town. You could put a backhoe on it. It's closed in cab, air conditioner. I mean, I think that's something that we really should look into because, I mean, if we're gonna buy a new one and it fails down the road, are we really comparing apples to apples? It's apples to oranges. That's what I'm, you know, that's my recommendation is looking into maybe going another route if we're gonna spend 90 grand because, you know, for probably 50 grand, we could get an all-wheel drive Kubota or a Coyote or a Mahindra and with all the implements and sell what we got.
I have never seen a Kubota or a John Deere tractor with a snow plow on the front of it that it would be equivalent to what we have down there. That machine is designed to clear sidewalks. We use it for lots of other stuff because we have the accoutrements for it.
All I'm saying is, Mr. Boland, is the price that I got, it had a 6.5 foot Fisher quick switch plow for the front. It had a broom, it had a backhoe, it had an underbelly mower, closed in cab, air conditioning, heater. All I'm saying is we ought to look into that avenue is because we could buy a new one in 5 years, it could fail. They were looking to buy another one for 5 years. Now, is that really being fiscally prudent for the taxpayers?
No, that last one lasted us 7 years, but
And we're disappointed that it was only 7 years. We expected.
Well, I think it's probably time we look at a different piece of equipment then. You know, just because every municipality don't have it, that has a sidewalk like this, doesn't mean Lincoln, Maine has to have one. Because there's a lot of contractors out there that plows a lot of roads with a lot of small equipment and they get the job done.
I would counter that, Shelley, with this, is that if the size tractors you speak of would be efficient for the job, then other municipalities would have them.
Not necessarily, because other municipalities want their own separate identity and have the best of the best, just for the sake of having the best of the best. Could we look into that? I make recommendations that we do. And I'd like to have information on that engine and I'll do the research, see if it's rebuildable. Thank you.
Last on this list is a sander attachment that would go on the back of the whacker because unlike the other accoutrements that we have, the sander is hydraulically run on there on our original piece, and it's an electric sander that goes on the back of this new piece. And so we would need that piece of equipment, that attachment, at a price of $7,200. And the salesman did tell me that he would work with us if we bought them both. But I have to be prudent and ask for their full.
Now, the reason why we need to purchase this attachment, Mr. Boland, is it the simple fact that we made one for the one that we have?
We made it. We fabricated it in-house. And the one we fabricated in-house is a hydraulically run sanding attachment, and the hydraulics are not run to the back of this new machine. It's an electric system, and so we would need to have one that would hook up to that.
Thank you.
Rest of my capital is 0436, a street sweeper. This was approved 2 years ago. We have not received it yet. It goes back to our conversation earlier in this meeting about receiving equipment such as that. It's on a Freightliner chassis. They claim that it's components that are causing the delay. We are, with fingers crossed, expecting delivery in June of this year, next month. But I have no confirmation on that yet, and it has been delayed several times. The original, this was ordered 2 seasons ago, and in the best case scenario, we'd have had it last year. We'd have took possession of it last year and put it out on the job site. And they led us to council to agree with this, appropriate this, is we hire a contractor to come in and suck our basins every year. We only can afford to do half of them each year. And we sweep. We don't have the best of sweeper. Our sweeper is old, it's antiquated, it doesn't do a very good job. And so with this piece of equipment, we do much better service to the taxpayers. We can suck the leaves out of the gutters. We can also clean the basins. It's a vac truck sweeper combination. It's a Booker, and it's already been approved by the council. We have money in reserve that we haven't spent, and so the request is $14,000. But next year it would be significantly more than that. I'm thinking maybe $54,000, something along those lines. But we have money in reserve that we've had for 2 years now to put towards this initial payment for the sweeper.
So I was gonna say, so you're saying fiscal year 23, we approved for that,
We did.
and so when you didn't spend the money, so that went into the rainy fund?
Went into reserve.
Held in reserve for this.
Held in reserve for this.
In fiscal year 24, did we have additional money put in there?
We didn't put more money in. We were able to not make that a tax appropriated expenditure because it didn't get spent. And so we just held what we had. We added the 14,000 to it, and then it didn't come, so we didn't spend it.
Okay, so this 14 is above and beyond what you approved in fiscal year 23.
That is correct.
How much did we approve in 23?
The lease price, I think, is 54,000. And it wasn't approved in 23. I think it was approved in 22.
Now, will these contracts have a penalty for non-compliance? Or you're just supposed to sit back and see when they're ready?
That's the industry right now is, and we're not the only ones affected by this. I mean, all entities that operate dump trucks and heavy equipment are affected by this.
The answer to Steve's question is it was approved in 23 for $40,000. So that sits in a capital reserve account right now.
Okay. So the 14 gets you up to 54,000.
Correct.
And how much does it cost the new one?
So
Yeah, it's 300,000, $300,000. A little bit more than that.
How much would it cost to hire someone over the course of 5 years to
$40,000 a year just for the basins. Nobody comes in town to clean the gutters, clean the leaves out of the gutters, clean the leaves out of the streets, and street sweep. This machine does all that. No, we're not gonna trade it in. I'm gonna sell it outright.
So when we sell that, does the salvage value go into your budget?
It goes into the general fund.
Just goes against the mill asset,
Correct.
doesn't it? Yeah.
Wouldn't it be prudent to keep track of permits that you sell against what?
We do keep track of it. When the audits come, they do ask us what we have sold and where that funds go. But it all does go into the general fund. It comes into unassigned funds is basically where that goes into, unanticipated revenue.
But what I'm saying is we're looking at budgets and, there's money that's being spent But like every business, you sell something, it goes back in salvage, back into the line item that you're approving. So if you're buying
Yeah,
trucks and.
yeah, unfortunately, that's not the way the municipal budgeting works. That's just not the way it's done.
But it is done generally, if you say when you do the audit, you have to go back and
Correct.
find all the numbers.
Correct, we provide
They gotta
those,
do it that way.
right,
They
but
just
there,
gotta do it that way.
that's not the way municipal budgeting works, no.
Is that a state mandated process?
Yeah, I believe it's generally,
The gap process is
Yeah.
federal.
It's against the asset. It really doesn't go back into a budget or back into a fund. It just goes against the asset.
I understand both sides. Have a question.
For accounting purposes, yes.
yes,
I had a hard time.
he
With
always
that.
wants his back.
When I first came on board, I had a hard time.
Sure, that's the thing,
And
but we
you
can't
get
do
it
that.
back perspectives, because you can go both paths, but for accounting purposes, it just goes against the asset.
I understand it now. But when I first came on board, which it's going into 8 years now, I wanted my money. I wanted
Sure, hard to be able to spend it again.
Yeah.
But,
to reinvest it in my
Yeah.
operation.
Reinvest it, exactly.
Well, if you're really tracking the cost, when you purchase a new piece of equipment, and contractors do this all the time, is they look at the life of the equipment, when you get $6,000 out of it, here's the original cost, here's the maintenance, the fuel, and then I have a seller's value on when I sell it. And they come up with an hourly rate for that piece of equipment. So at the end of the life of that piece of equipment, they're not sitting there with zero. They're sitting there with a budget to replace that piece of equipment.
yeah, but that is not the way that this type of budgeting works.
Right.
And there's nothing to say that you can't keep a separate schedule, keep a separate scorecard of what you derived from salvage value and use it in an argument or a conversation. There's nothing to say that you can't keep that,
Right.
but for accounting purposes.
I did that a little bit. At first, I said, oh, we saw this amount of recycles and so on and so forth. I understand now how
My
it works.
question of the type of budgeting, is this our own internal system or is mandated?
No, this is the way governmental accounting for municipalities works.
So we have to
In general.
Yeah,
What is called gap accounting. And she obviously understands it. And we have to go down that road. Simple.
And it's nothing to say that you can't still have it in conversation,
Right.
right? It's just for accounting purposes, it has to go against the asset.
I see what everyone's talking here, but alluding to what Mr. Bowen was saying, if you could keep a running track, say, well, I sold this for this, this for that, and then come back to even though the money is not there technically, you could come back and say, look, we've got $200,000 from equipment sold.
You certainly can, because cash did result in it.
Yeah.
Right.
So then it'd be easy to sell that to the council, to say, look, this is what we need, but this is what we brought back in.
It's a reinvestment.
I understand that. The council bought wholeheartedly the lease philosophy. And it was very clear. We sell these, work these dump trucks till they're falling apart and we get $1,500 for selling them. With the lease program, we're guaranteed a payment as trade-in, which is a hell of a sight more than $1,500.
No, that much of it is.
That's
Very
scrap. That's scrap.
We usually put it out to bid and somebody buys it that's got a contract, off the road somewhere and they run it for, it's tired iron.
Yeah, and
Tired iron.
if it's anything better than scrap, then it's kudos to you for having any life left in it at all to be able to sell it.
I mean, getting back to the sidewalk farm, you get $2,700 on it. That was the found attractive to get that in the market, so.
We were disappointed that we had an engine failure. We were very disappointed. And of course, all of us at the shop, I thought it was an injector problem. Somebody else thought it was something else. None of us thought it was a blown engine. It would start up. It would sit there and knock and, didn't sound good. And it wouldn't hardly move under its own power. Only 2 out of 3 cylinders, you're only 66% of what you're made for. And now I thought it was an injector problem.
Now, speaking about the injector, and I don't want to bring up past history, I know when we lost a piece of equipment out on Town Found, Sweet Road, quite a few many years ago, DEF was added to the fuel tank by mistake. Now, we do run our due diligence, none of operator error or anything like that.
That's better than that thing.
I'm just saying, I'm thinking outside the box.
All of our equipment now takes DEF, and so we have a volume of DEF at the shop, a large tank where we pump it right out. Instead of buying the boxes, because almost all the equipment now takes the DEF.
Is that DEF inside?
Yep.
With my history with DEF, when you, even though it's inside, that gel, that will crystallize inside the pump. So when you give it that first shot of DEF, them crystals are getting inside that DEF tank. And that is, it's not great for the engine. So, I mean, I talked to my neighbor, which worked for probably one of the biggest contractors in town. They went with the plastic 2.5 gallon jug because there's no crystallization. So when you're putting the raw liquid into that tank. So, I mean, it's, my brother had a couple engine failures because of that certain situation. Because when you crack that nozzle, all that DEF that's laying dormant for a day or two is all crystallized already. So you're shooting that into the engine. And that's bad. And this industry has already proven that that's a catastrophic failure to this engine that it's in.
We haven't had any problems. And I'm not saying that's not something, but we haven't had any problems. The tank is inside, it's 40 degrees plus in there, maintained constantly, and oftentimes up in the 50s degrees temperature in there. Now, but when you have as many vehicles as we do, that's a lot of 2.5 gallon containers to go down and get. And we felt it was better. I felt it was better and also cheaper to buy it in bulk than from Dyson, so we get our diesel fuel from. We have a contract with them.
Did they put a filter on it so no crystals can go sucked up? You know, like that?
No, because then your filter's gonna crystallize, so it's not gonna let the DEF go through the filter.
Listen,
To date, we haven't had any issues like that. That concludes my public works capital requests. We have some for the transfer
Yeah,
station.
might as well do the transfer right now and get done with capital.
Good. Let's do it.
First line here is 074 transfer station transportation, which on my copy is blank, but it should be 23,000.
That's a lease that's in the
Oh, it's in the-
station budget.
Okay, disregard.
Gotcha.
Disregard last transmission. Transfer station building, I'm asking for $7,000. There's a number of, I'm not gonna say major, but say larger, issues that need to be taken care of. The transfer station is an old facility, this old building. Anybody that goes there regularly can see that the doors to the lower hopper bay are basically falling out of the building itself. We need to get those replaced. There's door issues on the warehouse. And there's quite a bit of work that needs to be done down there. And so I'm asking for $7,000 to cover those things.
Is that necessarily capital? Maintenance?
I guess we could debate it either way, but if you replace those pieces, they should last long enough that they were capital.
Okay.
And I'll further this answer, Wanda, is the equipment maintenance has a large ticket item on it this year. A very large ticket item, one-time expense for another 10 years, but it needs to be done. And so the number I'm asking for in my operating budget is exaggerated compared to historical numbers. And so I didn't want to burden it anymore. Transfer station trailers, 14,000, that's 7,000 per trailer. We've been doing that for a number of years. I am told by the manufacturer of those trailers are both built by the same company, that we can expect 10 years out of those trailers. We will get at least a few years more than that. The trailers are a little bit rusty on the outside. That's not where the trailers fail. The trailers fail from the inside, and it's the acidic liquid from all the trash that eats the metal out from the inside. The outside rusts a little bit, it does. We painted it a little bit, but it's a big job to paint those trailers and do it correctly. But the failures come from inside. And the truck driver is tasked with washing those trailers out on a regular basis, and we will get more than the estimated 10 years out of them. It's a 2015 and 2016 trailers, and I'd like to get a couple more years out of the 2016 to kind of spread that out a little bit. $100,000 expenditure. Each of those trailers were 70,000, but that was going to be 10 years ago. I can't imagine that they're less than 100,000. And so we've been putting 7,000 away each year with the understanding that after 10 years, we would have 70,000 in reserve to replace a trailer when it's necessary. I feel that we're going to get a few extra years out of those trailers because they have been taken care of more than maybe they have been in the past. They get regular hosing out 3 or 4 times a year. The inside, the hydraulic lines are kept clean and clear. It's $800 for one hydraulic line on one of those trailers. So we take precautions to take care of it. In my tenure, we've had one go. I think that's pretty good. In that time, we've done it 8 years.
The inside of the trailers, what material is?
Steel.
Stainless steel?
No, steel. I've not seen that. I have not seen that.
Make aluminum dump bucket. Not good for the box, but for the garbage, I think it'd be unusual.
I don't know that, and I could look at that, but when I look and research them, I never see any aluminum trash trailers for sale. And if you look at the sides of our trailers, over years and years of pushing trash here, those trailers have become distorted, the shape of them. And I would think an aluminum would be more so. I don't know that for sure.
The hydraulic pressure.
Yeah, so the aluminum would give away faster because it's more flexible.
Yeah.
But, being somebody that dumps a lot of stuff once a week, I'm sure that whatever goes in there has to be amazing and it doesn't rot in a year. That's the reason I asked about the stainless steel, which is probably more durable material.
I have seen paperwork when we purchased those trailers, stainless steel was not an option on the specifications. I didn't generate the specs, but I've been on the computer and looking at the trailers, and none of the companies that makes them offers a stainless steel or an aluminum trash trailer. I cannot say why, other than I've never seen it.
That's probably the reason.
Now,
Stainless
Dennis,
steel might be tremendously expensive.
now speaking about these trailers, we typically make 3.5 trips a week down to Perth or down to the landfill, down to Juniper Bridge. And I know it would just be a scheduling thing. 90% of that life is one of those trailers that's sitting all the time. Why can't we just go to one trailer and when the hopper is full, load the trailer or whatever. Then while the trailer's going, the hopper's filling up again. And there was a promise made to this council years ago that the fire department would go down and blow the snot out of them trailers. To this date, it has never happened. The council has been promised several things over the years. It's never happened. That, by blowing that snot out of them trailers, would bring a life that much longer to that trailer. And if we put, just a minute, Mr. Boland, if we put Teflon on that floor and on the sides, it would probably give us that much more life.
I can't say one way or the other. No transfer station that I know of and speak to does that. But I will disagree with you on this, Sheldon. The firehouse has been down there a number of times under my asking them to, and hose the front and back of those trailers out. And also the hopper bay. Twice a year, the firehouse comes and hoses that out. We call it douche day.
Is it logged?
There is a schedule for it.
We have
I can't
asked,
say it's a log, but there's a schedule.
we have asked for logs.
Well, a schedule that's initial could be considered a log. When you have a chore list and you initial it off and the date, that could be considered a log. So I have to answer your question that there is a type of log down there for that.
And since doing that would fall into the daily duties that the people at the firehouse do, the maintenance they do there, they put that down, they don't want that.
Is that law coming back to the council like requested?
I never heard such a request, as the law from the fire department, of the maintenance they do come to the council, I don't think so.
I've never heard that request, Sheldon, that it be reported.
No, it was prior to you, Dennis.
I'm sure of that, but the council has never asked me for it either. And if asked by the council, I'll produce it.
But I think we could go to one trailer and still get the job done.
We can't go to one trailer and get the job done.
Yes, you can.
We can't go to one trailer and get the job done. When the trailer packs out, if it's before noon, the driver leaves and takes it to dump off, at which time the empty trailer is put into the hopper. And there's times where the driver has to take 2 trips a day to keep up with some of the summertime traffic and some of the spring cleanup traffic and things of that nature. 2 trailers would not do the job. In fact, if I could paint a perfect picture, I'd have 3.
If I could paint a perfect picture, I'd like to know how come our tonnage is more than it was when we had the mill. That is why we need to start charging to get to that reduction out of the.
I'm not going to argue with that. I fought that battle and lost it. And so I was told that we're not going to make changes as far as that goes, and therefore we're not going to make changes as far as that goes.
We as a town need to start making changes for the betterment of the taxpayers, because they feel that doesn't matter if the budget committee or the council, just a rubber stamp. We need to get out of this mindset that just because Howland's doing it, we need to do it better. If Lincoln's doing it, well, Holton's got to do it better.
I went to a council meeting, was requested to go to a council meeting in Enfield, and to explain to the people there how our transfer station worked. Our transfer station is a model transfer station as far as other transfer stations go. And it was a packed house. People wanted to hear what I had to say as far as how our transfer station works.
And they do a good job down there, there's no question. And I think it might be time to budget a pole barn to put the equipment under.
I would like to see that.
I will say, Sheldon, in the 40 years on construction, I've probably been another transfer station and landfill in the top 20. Really 30% of that is construction and plumbers. Dennis has a top-notch outfit.
Oh, I don't disagree
I don't
with that.
think that's the argument. I think it's just a question that we need to find ways to save taxpayers' money. I'm not necessarily criticizing your transfer station because I say, sure, I appreciate the way it's run.
And they do a good job there.
I presented to the council, Sheldon was on the council, about implementing some fees
I remember
for
that.
some of the commercial haulers. And the council did not accept it. And so we stayed as business as it is.
Would it be appropriate for us to put forth another presentation on fees?
We should, because there's a lot of people out in the community upset.
I'm new to this town. I think we have an excellent transfer station, and I can't believe what we can get down there.
I feel we're losing $300,000 a year by not charging the contractors.
The contractors considerably. I mean, yes, taxpayers and people just take in their household trash. Okay, but contractors not being charged, agreed.
I did a very well-researched, thought-out presentation on pay-as-you-throw at the transfer station. And that pay-as-you-throw system would have nearly covered our tipping fees.
And I remember that, Dave.
And
then it's curious.
some folks felt that it was double taxation. That's one way of thinking of it.
Sure.
However, in my mind, it's the most fair way to charge for your trash. You pay for what you throw in, you pay for what you throw in, you pay for what you throw in. If you choose not to participate in the recycling and you want to throw it away, fine. You're going to pay to do so. And I still think
The fees are correct. I mean, we pay to license the dogs, we pay to license the car. So, and again, is the service we're paying for. If we don't take the service, we don't have to pay anything.
And is there any, of course, recycling, we know what that's a market-based thing, but if you start to put user fees on that,
Correct. And you would double your recycling or more.
And the
I will say this while we're on the subject. We did implement some fees, maybe 2 years ago. Furniture, tires, TV, just token fees. $5 for a truck of lumber to be dumped into the burn pit. $5 for the brush pile. We have to pay to get rid of all that. And so, we don't make any money. We don't make any money, but we try to offset some of the costs. And so some token fees were implemented. The council voted to do that. And some people fussed about it for the first year, but now, for the most part, it's accepted.
And so many municipalities are ahead of on this subject.
It's a balancing act, because basically you don't want that people, we've got thousands of water meters. You can find mattresses and stoves and refrigerators. You don't want that. So you need to be able to encourage people to take it to the transfer station or their house, have Dennis deal with it, air conditioners, all the stuff he does. You don't want it out in the roads. I mean, for years, we've tried using that.
Air conditioner.
So are you saying that maybe somewhat of don't put fees on it, or?
The fees have got to be really minimal.
Yes,
You wanna-
right.
Most people say, yeah, I'll $5 or $10 to give up this refrigerator or this air conditioner or something.
Right, they're not being punitive or.
There's still going to be some that's going to say, oh, $5, I'm going to drive down the road with take it to the.
Okay,
As part-
it's where trash is been done, right? It's one there to protect it.
As part of my presentation, as part of my research, I called and talked to the area game wardens and asked them what was dumping on the back roads a problem. But to each one of them, they said it was a minuscule problem. Yes, you have some people dump back there. It's not overwhelming. And so then I talked to some of the towns, roughly this size, all throughout Maine, that had the pay as you throw and was dumping a problem in those towns. And they all said no. You're going to get people who are going to dump regardless. And it didn't make a big difference whether they had to pay or not. The people who were inclined to throw their air conditioner or their mattress or whatever at the end of the road were going to do so anyway.
But it could offset some expenditures.
Pay as you throw would generate a lot of income, a lot of revenue, not income, revenue.
Offset some expenditures.
Yes, offset some expenditures.
Right.
We'll get into the transfer station operating costs here in a little bit, and some of the amounts are going to surprise you. I think some people are going to surprise them. What it costs us to get rid of it.
Yeah, Wanda, going back to your comment, we did discuss at the last meeting that once we get all the summary of the comments, we will add some additional comments and recommendations for our final report. But that's very important, otherwise there's no purpose of our meeting here. Sorry, continue.
No, the next line, regular transfer station trailers are $14,000. That's for 2 trailers. That's $7,000 each. Next line is transfer station backhoe. We've talked at length about that, and I feel that the transfer station should pay for some of that new backhoe because they get some of the use out of it. If they got 8 years of use out of a piece of equipment that we kept for 16 years, they got half of the life out of it. Granted, the machine down there isn't asked to do what it's asked to do in public works, but it's still that same machine. And so I feel that the transfer station should pay for a part of that machine. I don't know.
It's free is not appreciated.
Let's take care of it. Take care of it a little better. I don't know that there's been a precedent set for that. I don't know that that's ever been done. And do you guys know if that's here? If that ever done? I don't know.
It's never been split like this.
And so I think it's only fair that the transfer station pay for some of that purchase of a new backhoe.
I would agree.
So Dennis, you're saying the new backhoe is going to be 277, 200?
No, it's going to be 175.
But if you factor in this 45,
Should be 25%. 45,000. That really should be 33%. 45,000, and then the other price is 135. And add those two together, that's 175 or 180,000.
So
I'll change that now.
33% of 180 is 45,000. If my arithmetic's correct. Also, again, this is a budget number. I don't go to bid this out until it gets approved. I call one company that sells them and get a budget number. And then if this is approved, then I will bid it out and we'll get the best deal, the best one that fits our needs. We got a nice Hitachi loader last year, really nice piece of equipment, $40,000 less than the nearest bid.
You ever go to an auction?
No, I haven't done that, although I think about it from time to time. Run my own construction company years ago, I went to many auctions on behalf of the town, representing the town of Lincoln. No. Difficult to go with $100,000 of town money.
Yeah.
You know, you can get a certified check or something, but got to go through a lot of legwork.
Process.
Right, a lot
And
of,
the council has to approve it prior to a purchase.
right.
It doesn't work for a quick sale.
No. I actually like going to the auctions, you know. And last is the transfer station baler. We've been putting money away. It's varied. Some years it's been 2,500. Some years it's been 8,000. Some years it's been 4,000. The baler we have down there is a 1950s vintage piece of equipment. And if you look at it, the steel, just like the treadles, is really starting to push out now. I've worked on it several times in the last couple of years. We put several pumps on it. It has a limited life. Has it got 10 more years in it? Maybe. Does it got 1 more year in it? Maybe. I've been saying all along since I've been down there that we need to be prepared for when this thing decides that it's not going to serve us anymore.
Is this the cost of a new one?
This is a cost of well, right now, how much money do we have in there?
I believe
60,
you have, yeah, close to.
50 or 60,000. That would be a used one. So, and in my mind, we keep using this one until it doesn't work anymore and keep saving up. It's just like, I look at that as a savings account that we're going to need for rainy day. Rainy day being with the baler.
If it crashes this week, how soon can you get the replacement?
Then we would start in earnest shopping for one. We have 2 balers at the transfer station, and the other baler can be used for cardboard if need be. It does the paper and the plastic. That's what one baler is used for. The other baler is solely cardboard. And then that's about the ratio. You know, cardboard, you're baling almost a bale a day, averaging a bale a day. Plastic takes you a month to save up enough to make a bale, sometimes. And so if we had a baler go down, we have another baler to lean on. And then we would in earnest start looking for a baler. And there's a few companies around that deal in that sort of thing. And I speak to all of them. And at one time or another, they've come and visited, sent a salesman. Or one company did put the compactor in a number of years ago.
You have the long-term recycling, these cardboard, you better market than plastic right now.
Number one. Cardboard is number one. Probably 3, 4, 5 to 1 volume of cardboard. The number 2 plastic brings a better price, but we just can't generate the volume that we would really like to have. If we could get a bale a day of number 2 plastic, we would double our revenue. Bale of number 2 plastic is 700 pounds. Bale of cardboard is 1,100 pounds.
What's the cost for a bale if you have to go and buy it?
I sell the bales. The last shipment of cardboard, the price is down, was maybe $70, $80 a ton.
He's asking how much replace the bale.
A used one right now is about 60,000. A used one,
So we've got enough money in there to buy a new.
conceivably. I've not gone out in the last few months and got a price on them, but I do occasionally, usually about once a year.
Now, how used?
They guarantee them for a certain amount of time, and I mean we would have the opportunity to look at it and decide. They refurbish it.
I mean, maybe we ought to looking at buying a used one right now, because every year we wait, another 5-6% increase in cost. You know what I mean?
Well, I think he's doing the right thing. Like most people, you know you're gonna replace it at some point, so you just keep putting it on the side. You got 10 years out of it, and you know, figure 10-year life to it. So.
Yeah, because you don't have a downtime for the ones you have right now, you just know that someday they will.
To replace the baler in question is going to be more than just unbolting the baler and putting a new one in. The floor has failed underneath the baler. It's sunk down a considerable amount. And if you look at that baler from the side, it's out of plumb 6 inches from top to bottom. And so all that would need to be repaired. You take the old baler out, reinforce it, jack that floor out, reinforce concrete, put that in there as a pad for the new baler. So it'll be more than just a couple of guys coming in with a crane and lifting it on the baler without putting a new one in. It'd be a little bit more involved in that to place a new baler.
That could go in something like that.
I think it might be. We did a significant repair this year where the building actually came off the foundation. I mean, it slid sideways. And I think that's because it's sitting on old landfill. It's shifted, it's settling down. And next time you're up there, speak to one of the guys. Hey, let me see behind this baler, and you'll see. And if you stand back and look at it, it's clear. It's very clear, especially somebody who's been in the construction business, knows what plumb looks like. It's clearly out of plumb. It's settling backwards. It's not in danger of falling over. It's still bolted to the floor, but to put a new one in, you wouldn't put it back in that shape. You'd put a concrete pad and then set the baler on top. That concludes my capital report.
So since we've discussed transfer station and capital, so that's kind of on your mind, why don't we do transfer station first of Dennis's operating budget?
You guys try to figure it out now. I got a couple of budgets to go through
So the wages we're seeing here, those are non-union wages.
They are part of the public works union.
tonight. Transfer station is part of the Public Works Union.
They were on that same sheet I sent you for Public Works. They're on the bottom part of that sheet.
So we didn't negotiate their contract last year.
One contract, public works includes that. One,
When's that up? When's that due to
2
be?
more years now,
2 more. So you did negotiate that last year. That was
last year.
1 is 3.
Yes.
The transfer station and the Public Works are under the same contract, same shop steward and everything.
So was there any big changes from the old contract to the new contract when we negotiated?
Primarily wages.
Wages, yeah.
Because it's gone up 18%, so they asked for an 18% increase in the wage.
Well, we asked for 30%. This is where we ended up. I don't think any of the 3 unions got what they asked for.
They asked for significantly more than what they ended up with, that's how negotiations go.
But we have to leverage negotiate.
Sit, wait, don't renew the contract. Sit, wait, don't renew the contract. Come into this room, debate, discuss. Eventually, they get to the point they want a fresh contract, and we'll want out too, and we come to it.
There was a couple of small items they asked for, clothing allowance increase, which we ultimately, I think we split that with them.
But that was Public Works, not transfer.
No, but transfer, well, they got their high-vis uniforms, and also they got an increase in their food allowance. There was a couple of tack negotiations, but the biggest thing was the wages, and they asked for a lot more than what they ultimately got. But that, we expected that.
So where was the average dollar per hour with before and after negotiations?
Before, the Public Works truck drivers made about nearly $18 an hour. And after the negotiations were done, they made a shade over 20. And the shop steward and I work side by side. You know, I'm considered we're great friends, but we have a very good working relationship. And he told me afterwards, he said their goal was to get their guys $20 an hour. And that's what they did. $20.21, I think, was the ultimate.
Roughly 10%.
But before we jump into this, there is a couple of changes in the transfer station operating budget. One of them is an expense was placed in the wrong place. I'd like to get that straight first. We put under the grounds and maintenance line, you'll see that the request is $12,400, and it should be $1,000.
What's the number you're looking at, Dennis? 0050.
Yeah.
Where are you moving that to, Dennis?
Moving it to equipment maintenance. And so the new equipment maintenance, 0030, the new equipment maintenance should be $27,250. And when we get to that line, we'll talk about it a little bit. Okay, and the next adjustment is going to be the tipping fees. And I came to this original number, 376,200, with the highest possible increase that they were allowed. And to me, that was prudent for budgetary purposes. However, I did get it in writing before this meeting, not today, but recently, that they are making no increase for 2024. That gives us 6 months at the current rate. And so how I became with the new number was I took 6 months at the current rate, and then I took 6 months at the maximum rate. It came with a budget number of $356,174. So your 0106 tipping line fees should read $356,174.
So we're going down.
Yes.
And this is Juniper Ridge.
We are under contract with PERC. And I've been to numerous of meetings since PERC shut down. An outfit came and bought it. Within weeks, they sold it to somebody else. They had a big open house. Jared McCarthy and I went to it. We came away feeling pretty good. A couple days later, they sold it. However, how the contract with PERC is written is if they are unable to take our trash, they must provide us a bypass, a place to take it at their price. And they have done that. They have honored their contract. And so right now we are on bypass to Juniper Ridge landfill at PERC's tipping fee, which is not PERC anymore. It's a different outfit now, but we call it PERC because we all know what PERC is. PERC burns it. And that's what we want. That's what we want, is for that trash to be reused in some way, shape, or form. It's for power. We're filling up the landfill there, Juniper Ridge, at an alarming rate. Because we're not the only ones dumping into it. You know, there's hundreds of other municipalities dumping into it. The latest news we have is first quarter of 2025.
A sale did finally go through.
Another outfit bought it. Yeah, it's been sold and resold, I want to say 3 times. And I've talked to the representatives of all 3 of these companies. Right? Tell us the truth. We know what's happening. I need to report to my people above me. And so this latest one, they seem to understand it's going to take a little bit of money and a little bit of time to revamp the place, do the upgrades and the repairs that are necessary. And so they're telling us first quarter 2025, which is, they have a modern system. They have a modern system, reclamation system that burns the smoke multiple times until it reaches a certain purification to go out. That was put in 7 or 8 years ago. But they have lots of other problems. I mean, conveyance, storage. You know, that tipping floor down there now is a huge place, and it's full of trash. It's 8,000 or 10,000 tons of trash sitting on the floor still as we speak. Recently, they bought a baler to bale it into huge bales, like tractor trailer truck size, and ship it out probably maybe Massachusetts or maybe Canada, I don't know, but ship it out of there. Because they have to get it out to work on the place. The tipping floor is in terrible shape, concrete's spalling and poor management.
As you probably know, there are two of these facilities, one in Hampton and one in Orange. Neither of them are running. And I would dare predict which one will, they're both planning to become running, but they've both been planning it for months, if not a few years. And they set dates, will be operating by this date. So far, they all failed to meet those dates. And yes, as Dennis said, we are paying the price to go to Juniper Ridge, which is actually lower because of our contract, and everybody's honoring the contract approved today. So we're paying a lower per ton fee, we and a few other municipalities, than we would be if we were going through the other facility, the Municipal Resource Committee. We're at the lowest price we could be. I just know that I don't trust that this will last.
When's that contract expire?
It technically has.
Honoring the rate.
Yeah.
I have a copy of the contract here. It's a few more years yet.
That long?
Yeah, I want to say 2014, and we signed a 15-year.
Okay, so 29.
I mean, for them to honor the rate, they would have to be under contract, and they would say, go to Juniper Ridge and pay the extra $10 a ton.
Oh, well, Mike, though, they are making frequent efforts to get us to assure them that we will be sticking with them when they become operational.
They in turn have a contract with Juniper Ridge that says Juniper Ridge will take our refuse as part of this contract. If we did not have this contract, Juniper Ridge could say to us, we're going to charge you X amount of dollars, or worse, we're not going to take you at all. And that would be a disaster. That would be a disaster for us. Norwich Walk. And well, that's the deciding factor for us between PERC and the fiber right, whatever they're calling themselves now.
Yes.
Their bypass is Norwich Walk. And that again, that'd be an all-day affair for one truck to go down and back. Maybe not all. The landfill. It might not take all 8 hours, but you wouldn't be able to take 2 trips in a day. And it would be a disaster for us. We need PERC to open back up. We built our operation around PERC.
What's their rate? They're only charging us per ton?
$90, some change per ton is what we're paying right now. And as Rick said, it
This
is
is 99. That was the max.
that
That was the max.
yeah, there's a change in that, and it's 20,000, some change less.
You know what Juniper Ridge is getting per minute?
Juniper Ridge is getting $96 to the average guy.
About $6 a ton up, so we have to default.
We don't want to default on our contract because the penalty for that is 2 years of tipping fees. And so we don't want to do that. We don't want to get out of the contract, which we could, but it would cost us 2 years of tipping fees at $350,000 to $700,000 a year to get out of the contract.
Not with a good ticket. If they haven't been performing and systems are down and sold it, you would win that case every time.
Maybe so, but they have
A good job.
they've upheld their end of the bargain. They've provided us a
Well, it's
bypass.
important for them. They can't go and sell the place if they don't have.
Customers.
Financing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's something.
They are trying to maintain a list of customers so that they can get funded to make the changes they are making. We're one of those.
So they're gonna play nice.
But still, be that as it may, PERC is our best option. All things are even. They're closer. Their bypass is closer. We'd rather keep going there if they can get their act back going.
Still got a little bit of a pulse.
They have a little bit of a pulse. They do have a little bit of a
Well,
pulse.
you drive by Juniper Ridge.
Yeah. Yeah, now I'm talking about the fiber right.
And you
So
drive by all of those who go to Norwich Walk.
So that's my last change, and that brings the bottom line to $601,412.76. So we're a little bit ahead of where we thought we might be.
Give me the numbers again.
601,412.76.
No, 0.76.
Okay, I like to round things off to the nearest five.
We have to round it up to the nearest dollar.
It's
Because
1,425, right?
I would like to do that. 601,413 would be the,
Thank you.
Nobody likes 13 though.
if I had my way, we'd round it to the nearest five to make even numbers. So we, in a discussion like this, we can sit there and look and make quick tabulations, calculations in our head. At least I would be able to.
I go to the nearest 100. So you're really just up 11.8. You're up 11.8, 1,800, right?
We're down.
No, from what you're down from what you proposed, but you're
Up, still.
up
Oh,
from last year.
yeah, a little bit, yeah.
What's the new increase?
11,800. For compensation sakes, round and round.
I find it much easier to do it at increments of 100 too.
So Dennis, let's cause an overtime at the transfer station.
Very little overtime happens at the transfer station. When we have a heavy load of material, we have a full trailer in the yard, and a 3/4 full trailer in the hopper. We know that trailer is going to pack out soon in the morning. So I'll send the driver 2 hours early. He'll leave at 5:30 instead of, as opposed to showing up at 7:30. And that gets him down and back before we open, so he can be ready to swap the next trailer out and go. Or there's times where somebody's on vacation, and I never like to have one person at the transfer station while it's open, if for safety reasons, for none other. And so he'll leave early to go dump the load and come back to be there before the transfer station opens. If there's one person there and they were to fall into that hopper, it'd be hours before somebody figured it out and was there. And so for that purpose, if for nothing else, I'd rather burn 20 hours of overtime in a year than have one of my guys in the hopper.
2% contingency.
My little dog fell into the hopper one time. And she thought it was the funniest thing. And I took the backer down, she jumped right in the bucket, and poor Rob, she just had a good time with it. But a person wouldn't think it would be so funny. Okay, so starting out at the transfer station, overtime, we just spoke with that. Professional development, training and mileage for 3 employees. I send the guys, and I do have one that needs to go right now to the DEP training, cores 1, 2, and 3. They're very informational. You learn a lot. I go to them occasionally, and I still learn things. So our caseworker is one of the ones that is a administrator there teaching the course, and so I like all the guys to take that. We pay them for mileage going down. We pay them for the day while they're there. Advertising and recruitment. This has gone up a little bit simply because I overspent this line the last couple of years, and it's almost entirely putting ads in the newspaper. The transfer station is going to be closed. We have a fee-free week. Advertising for recruitment, we need to hire somebody. And so I spend about this much every year. Last year I was overspent in line, the year before that as well. So I made the adjustment to budget enough money to cover what I spend. The uniforms, that did go up this year. We were in violation by the MMA inspector, violated us for not having high visibility shirts on. In years past, the transfer station uniform was blue dungarees and a blue work shirt, denim work shirt. Nice looking, but was not high visibility, and we got violated for that. And so immediately I made the change, and we buy now from the uniform, we rent from the uniform people the high visibility shirts. They're more expensive.
They don't have this number. Remember, I reprinted that for you. Yeah, what's the number for that
The
spot?
number, I'm sorry, the number is 81.
Oh, so my 11.8 is all on.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, about 4,000.
No, your 11.8's not. That number I gave you, I'm sorry, guys, that number I gave you included
The
this.
601 that you gave us for your.
Yeah, the 601 is accurate.
Yep.
The number now on uniforms should be 4181. 4182.
$4,182.
Correct. And that's the increase in having the high visibility.
It's just an
Shirts.
industry standard.
Industry standard.
Anywhere.
It gets hot up there. I could have made the guys wear the safety vest. It gets hot up there in the summertime, and I just felt it had been unfair to make those guys wear essentially two shirts in the summertime. So we bought the high vis stuff. They did give us a deal. The original price was more than that, and they told us if we signed I think it was a 2-year extension, they would give me the price at less, about 20% less. And so at the time, we thought that was a good deal. We did it. I don't think I'm going to do that to you again on this transfer station. Okay, consumable supplies. That stayed the same as last year. I'm going to say, no, it came down a little bit. And the reason it came down is we were able to buy last year and the year before things in bulk. Instead of buying a case of 6 hand wipes, I bought a case of 24. And so we have some items left over from our stock from this year. And so we're going to have to spend a little bit less money this year. We did that because of COVID shortages. We've been doing it for a couple of years now, buying in bulk as opposed to buying smaller quantities. General supplies, bottled drinking water, we have to buy that for those guys. And the transfer station stickers cost us $700 to have them manufactured. And to be honest with you, almost every year we run short towards the end of the year. And so I've been loath to buy more, but there has been years that this wasn't enough.
Subsequent to those have a little bit of a fee, right? So there's a little bit coming back on that too.
Yeah.
Second sticker is $1.
Costs $1.
Yeah.
For the household. And I do have in what we did last year was we bought some blank stickers
That
for
worked.
the end of the year.
Yeah.
So I have a roll of blank stickers. So as we run out of the year ones, we can use those blanks just until we get the next year's stickers. That way we don't have to purchase 250 more colored stickers for the current year.
Theoretically, nobody should need a dump sticker in December.
Right, but they
If you
do.
follow the rules, you shouldn't be coming here to ask for a dump sticker in December, but people do. And, the guys up there at the transfer station are pretty diligent about trash pass checks. It's the only way we have to tell if anybody is allowed to be there or not. And we get fussed with a lot at the transfer station. And my response always is, these are our tax dollars that run this facility, and so we are protecting our tax interests. And there's no arguing with that. There's no arguing with that.
Now, speaking about passes, Dennis, this has always been a stickler for me. I know several contractors, I won't mention names. What are you doing today? Well, I'm demoing a house in Mattawamkeag. They come down, they dump Mattawamkeag trash. What can we do so if that happens, can we get a sticker, like a no service sticker, if you get busted on the road with that, just put a no service sticker on their windshield, because that's happening.
Oh, it happens. There's no system that's 100% foolproof there.
So that's why we need to make sure that contractors, I mean, if I bring a load of brush in, I gotta spend $5 to get rid of it.
The loophole that's being used is somebody that lives in Lincoln and they're doing a job in Mattawamkeag, and they have that transfer station sticker on their vehicle. And when they come in, hey, where's this coming from? Pleasant Street. And so there's no recourse to that. I'm not gonna go out to Pleasant Street every time and look and see if there's a job going on out there.
That's why we need to make sure that we're charging that 3/4 ton pickup with a trailer. It doesn't matter if it's even $30 to dump, because at least I mean, it's not fair to the taxpayers because
I will be the first to admit that some trash gets in there that's not supposed to, mainly from contractors. We do the best that we can do to check and ascertain where material's coming from. We can't bat out 1,000.
but if we start charging for that pickup load from each contractor.
I would not have a problem with that, Sheldon, but like I said, I fought that battle to the council and the decision was made.
So the projection from us is to embark on
Because
a fee study for the transfer
Yeah.
station.
We're gonna try to put it on the table again.
I think in this committee, it makes sense.
I mean, it's,
I don't mind this budget committee doing that. I was told by the council, this is what we're gonna do, and so I'm not gonna keep, like a spoiled child, keep asking until I hear it.
But I think in all three, it makes sense.
And it's in my notes, it'll be on the notes.
And I still have a majority of this information from the research that I did. A lot of months of research that I did on this topic.
Oh, and you've got a whole crew that's working, like you said, you've got a really good crew, you know, and so you charge them $5 for a water contractor to brush. I mean, those guys handle it, and you're paying wages there. The whole thing is just disproportionate.
No argument from me. Yeah. So we charge, now, one of the fees that was implemented that we spoke of earlier is treated lumber.
Mhm.
And we throw that into the hopper. You can't burn it because of chemicals that are in it, not supposed to, but PERC could burn it, but we can't at open fire. And it was an estimate, $5 per cubic yard. That's an estimate, a visual estimate. Truckload, a pickup truckload is $5. I mean, that's a reasonable token fee. Yeah. Okay, we're going down to equipment maintenance here. And there'll be a couple of variables here. The first on the list here is 2009 Case backhoe. That's the old girl that lives down there now. It's in very poor condition. Does it start up? It does. Does it lift a load up? It lifts a half a load up. Is the cab getting ready to rot off of it? It is. And it's going to take some money this year to keep it going. Now, if we get another backhoe and replace Public Works and send Public Works ones down there, then this number gets greatly reduced. But I have to plan for the worst case contingency.
Agreed.
2020 Bobcat skid steer. That's still in very good condition. It does cost $600 a year to service the machine, and it'll break a hydraulic hose once in a while. So $800 is a reasonable number to maintain that equipment throughout the year. It's got solid tires on it, and so we don't have to worry about that. 2015 Stecco trailer, fair minus. That's the older of the two. I have $1,100 on that, and that's really for one extra tire. The landfill eats the tires up. We're changing, I don't know, 3 or 4 tires a year on each of those trailers.
what are tires now, $400?
They are, but we take the tires off of those dump trucks and we get extra life out of some of them on the trailer. 22.5s can fit on that trailer. So we have a small supply of tires that we are able to recycle and save us a few coins. But if he gets a flat tire on a Saturday, the mechanic's not there, he's got to go to Hogan, that's $400 for that. The 2016 Stecco, close to that, it's in fair condition. It's a year younger. And so as you can see, I have one less tire on that. As I said earlier, one hydraulic hose from that trailer to the rig is $800. And that's Ramsey's doing it at cost. If we had to buy that from a different outfit somewhere down Bangor, that'd be a $1,400 or $1,500 hose. Shop supplies, I put $1,000 down here. That's, you fill it in. It's antifreeze, it's windshield wiper fluid, it's cleaning supplies for the vehicles, it's things like that. The compactor, good condition, $4,000, and this $12,800 that was on building maintenance should come over to that. And so that price should be $12,800. And what that is this is a planned maintenance. We lost the pump in that compactor 2 years ago. It was 6 weeks before we got another one. it was a disaster. We had to have Ireland's come up there with a trash truck and we had to pay them for 6 weeks' time. It cost us $50,000 or $60,000.
Are we keeping the spare pump?
Oh, we have a spare pump now.
Good.
We didn't then. I took the old pump out and had it rebuilt. And we put a new one in there and I had the rebuilt in my possession. The following year, we lost the motor, the big motor that runs that compactor. I was fortunate and got one immediately the next day. And so to be proactive, we've never PM'd the rams, the hydraulic rams. They recommend that you do it every 8 to 10 years. It's been 12 years. We're going to take the hydraulic rams out. Ramsey's Welding is going to do it for us. They're going to rebuild. There's 2 of them in there side by side. They're going to take them out. They're going to rebuild them for us, put them back in. It's a week-long job, 4-day job. We're going to allow 5. So that's 3 days. We're going to shut down and take our normal off days. We'll do it after the height of the busy season, maybe in October, sometime like that. But I think we would be better off to do that than have that machine go down and then have to react. And instead, we will be proactive. Ramses has given me that estimate. That's a true estimate from them.
So you're closed on Wednesdays and Thursdays, so one you do things Monday and Tuesday, catch it 4 days a week.
I'm going to take Monday, Tuesday, and Friday. And if we're finished on Thursday, great, we'll open up on Friday. But I'd rather advertise that we're closed and let people understand that instead of coming down and saying, oh, you're not finished this yet. And so I'll advertise that in the paper and all of our social media outlets. But it's something that I feel that we need to do. We need to do this as opposed to have it go down in the middle of the winter when it's 0 degrees. You know, let's do it on our terms. Let's do it under our terms.
Are we gonna be closed to everybody?
Gonna have to be. Compactor won't work.
No, I understand. So I mean, we won't be opening up on a Wednesday for a contractor to go down and dump his 5 or 6 load.
Won't be able to.
Okay.
The compactor will be out of service. And the regular people who visit us, the packers and the commercial guys and the contractors and the residents are going to have to plan accordingly. In 8 years that I've been there, we've had not even whole days where we've had to shut down. Parts of a day here, parts of a day there. But we've never shut for the whole day. And so this is going to break that record, but it needs to be done. Okay, back to recycling baler. Poor condition, $600 to maintain it. The pump for either one of those is about $400 just for the pump. We might blow a hose, we might have to blow a seal, whatever the case would be. $600 is a reasonable number. Both of the balers are the same. And our Freightliner tractor, that's also a lease, 2022, I think it was. But we do need to service it. And it'll cost a few dollars to service it. If it blows a hydraulic line, we need to repair that. So.
Now, Dennis, speaking about the recycled baler, how many loaded cardboard do we recycle a year?
Is the average one a day. So if we're open 20 days a month, which really is more than that most months, I'll do that math. 20 times 12, 240.
240.
All right, so we do more than that because I ship out 4, 5, 6 loads a year at 46 loads. That's probably about the same number.
Now, what I'm thinking, would dollar for dollar, have you done the comparison on if we didn't bail it, just send it to PERC, or wherever? Now, the tonnage, how much extra ton would that add to the tipping fee?
That would add to the tipping fee.
100 ton?
46, 25 tons times 5, that's 250 tons. And so the recycling the cardboard, we get paid on both ends of it. We're taking it out of the waste stream and we're selling it. And so if we take a ton of cardboard out of the waste stream, that's worth $90 a ton to us right there without even touching it. If we process it and bale it and sell it at, say, $70 a ton, then in actuality, that cardboard is worth $160 a ton to us. The EPA would not be happy if we didn't recycle the cardboard. There's no law against it. But we get very high marks from DEP because of our recycling, in part because of our recycling programs. I personally would not be in favor of disbanding the recycling programs, especially cardboard, because it's our best one. At Christmas time, we have to use both balers to keep up with the volume of cardboard coming in there.
And just generally, people farm practices now, you know, in farm,
Oh, I know.
just cardboard, right? Where's that?
Where does that cardboard go?
We sell it to a wholesaler. It goes to a couple different places. A lot of it goes over to Canada. Some of it goes down to a plant in Massachusetts. And that's really the two different places. It goes a couple different places, mills up in Canada. This goes back to the pay as you throw. If it costs you money to throw that cardboard in the hopper, you wouldn't do it. You'd take it in that warehouse and you'd get rid of it there. And that would double or triple or even quadruple our recycling volumes. And then, then we're really offsetting some costs, especially when you pay for the bags, even $1 a bag. So I put a lot of time into that, and I felt strongly about it, and I tried my hardest.
You did a good job.
I tried my hardest to sell it.
I know Sharon was on board.
When I go-
Sharon was on board.
It's amazing the things that go in
It's appalling what people throw away.
there. Right.
My husband was dead set against it until I set up these lovely bins and we got super serious about it. And he saw how few plastic bags he was taking per week versus forest. We got sold on it.
When you really dig in deep to this, and there's lots of people that have done lots of studies, so there's lots of information out there. And a house, 2 adults, 2 kids, if they recycle everything that can be recycled, you can take your trash once a week in one of the smallest bags. Yeah. And so that would cut our tipping fees down. The pay-as-you-throw revenues would help offset, or maybe even completely offset that. Then our recycling revenues would be. You come to see me one day. I'll really show you some stuff that.
And I don't even know how we're gonna get to 50% recyclable by 2030, like the legislature said. We would.
We won't get there. We won't get there. If you stood in that control room and watched the hopper, yeah, it's appalling what goes in there. Yeah.
Melissa, do you have the revenue part of this equation for us today?
I gave that to you. Are you talking about current revenues? Or are you talking about our projections?
Well,
I gave you all of the revenue. Yeah. David's got his
Mr. Chairman, by the rules of the budget committee, which have stood for many years, these meetings end at 9 o'clock every time. We do not have another day scheduled because we've been doing pretty well. So I leave it to you as to whether we can move more rapidly or whether we're going to be scheduling another day.
Mr. Chair, I have one question before Mr. Bowman leaves.
He's not-
Oh, he's not leaving, but until we go on to another subject here.
Much stuff in here now.
I know years past, we've always said that the tractor trailer truck down there travels 10,000 miles a year, correct?
About that.
Now it says 20,000 miles a year at 3.5 miles a gallon.
All right, whatever it says on here, that's what it is. The mileage then is 20,000, Cheryl, I'm sorry. You said 10,000 and I didn't give it any thought, but the mileage is around 20,000
A year?
a year.
So we've had the truck for 2 years? And there's 40,000 miles on that truck?
I wouldn't think so, but I haven't checked it.
Why I'm
You're
saying
asking me
is,
a question and I don't know, I really don't know the correct answer to what you're asking.
I mean, it's always been an arbitrary number because I've always been one to, miles per gallon. Have we gone,
This truck
because of the automatic, we've decreased a mile and a half per gallon?
doesn't get as good a gas mileage as the other one does. The other one, I thought got 4 miles to the gallon. These are historical numbers. I'm still back here on this page because I have more under equipment maintenance. Because I always,
Let's
yeah.
move on.
Yeah, we need to
Yeah, because
put
we're,
it up a
we're
little bit.
pushing 9 o'clock soon.
Okay. The $12,800 is added on for the compactor, the planned outage, brings our total at the bottom to $27,250. And just keep that in mind, that that's a one-time fee. Next year, that $12,000 disappears or won't be back on there.
Is it 12,000 or is it 11,400?
12,800.
You had me move
I know.
12,400.
Okay.
That's why I'm questioning, because I want to put the right number.
My number is the right number.
12,000.
11,000 some change was an original estimate. An updated estimate recently in the last couple of weeks is 12,800.
Okay, thank you. I don't want to put the wrong number in there.
Take it. Okay, vehicle fuel. Sheldon, I don't know the answer to your question. These are historical numbers. Annual mileage 20,000. That seems to be the same numbers as been historically. Miles per gallon is 3.5. That's always been 3.5. And the equipment gallons is an estimate.
I like to see a true figure on how many miles per year that we use that truck. Because if we go down and look at the speedometer, if there's only 30,000 miles, because I can remember that annual mileage was always 10,000 miles.
I look back and see it myself. I did not change this this year, so 20,000 certainly had to be what was on there last year.
It was, I have it.
Yeah.
To be confirmed.
To be confirmed. Okay, and so we're here also under vehicle fuel. We have diesel for the backhoe and the skid steer, and we have gasoline. And so those have been historical numbers that get updated right before the budget goes into effect because the gas prices fluctuate so much. Fuel prices. Licensing fees, this has been $450 since I've been on board. That's what it costs for 2 separate licenses that we're required to buy to operate the transfer station. I've received no notification of a change, and it's been that number since I've been down there. Okay, and item number 50 is this hydraulic cylinder rebuild comes off and goes on equipment maintenance. And so this line item should read $1,000. In the past, we've budgeted a few more dollars for different projects. $1,000 is a historical number, and this year reverts back to the same. That number seems to be adequate. Recycling operations. This has changed significantly over the last couple of years, where PERC underwent a large renovation, and they started accepting tires, asphalt shingles, things of the like, because they had the reclamation system that would burn the fumes over and over again until they reached a certain purity stage. And so it helped us. We started sending our tires and our asphalt shingles to PERC. And we estimate that it's about 10 loads a year if we just loaded the trailer with those materials. And so that's where that item line come from. And then the $2,900 is for recycling, banding wire, shrink wrap, and recycling materials. All those bands of recycled materials, bales, get banded in some way. Some are wire, baling, and some is flat metal.
So the metal cans, the glass still.
I started the glass program very early on in my tenure on speculation, and I got a company that was going to come buy it. And the deal was I had to have 20 tons for them, and they'd come pick it up. And it took a lot longer to get 20 tons than I anticipated. And by the time we got 20 tons, or what I estimated at 20 tons, they were no longer interested in it. So what we do now with the glass is we use it for fill on areas that it's applicable for. We just hang on to it until we can use it somewhere. And
metal in. That's got-
Metal cans go, the metal company takes them. Yeah. Metal.
The non-numbered plastic.
Mixed plastic, we're judicious about what we save out of mixed plastic. Some of it's not worth even fooling with. Pennies on the ton you get for it. It's not worth dealing with it. Some of it is. But the number 2 plastic is a good moneymaker. $700 a ton.
So that the non-numbered two gets burned.
Some of it does. Yeah.
Burned or buried.
Now, do we make any revenue off the steel or off the wood chips after it's ground?
The wood chips is a deal with the contractor. They come in, they grind the wood chips, and they take the wood chips with a small amount as payment for the services that they give us.
I think we ought to look in receiving some type of stumpage for that wood chips.
They will give you stuff, but then they're gonna charge the price.
No, they're getting the material at $1,500 a load.
Some material, maybe not.
They're getting all the material, but I don't think they're getting $1,500 a load for it because it's mixed. It's not all hardwood chips. It's softwood chips. It's lumber. It's all kinds of stuff in there. And the original first few years of the deal was you come and grind it, I'll give it to you, and we'll call it even. And now it's $1,000 plus the chips is the deal.
So we have to pay them
We pay them $1,000. Nobody else wants the job.
because of the steel and whatnot that may be in it.
It could be steel in it. One company gave me a quote, this a number of years ago, $7,500. They wanted to come grind that up. To me, $1,000 and the chips, pretty good deal.
Because I know we used to burn it.
Burning, I did that for a couple of years. Burning it is difficult because you can only burn so much in a day. It doesn't burn down good, and it's difficult to clean up. And then you got to get rid of the ash. And so somebody coming and grinding it in a big tub grinder, to me, is much better of an arrangement. They come once a year. It takes a year to fill up that yard, that brush yard, and they come once a year. It's an outfit out of Greenbush, Maine Logistical Solutions. Okay, moving down to safety compliance, pretty straightforward. First aid, spill kits, glasses, speedy dry, safety gloves, things of that nature. Central protection plus alarm agreement, $300 a year. They come and service the alarm system. The footwear was $750. No, it is $750 because they had an increase in the CBA from $150 per man to $250 per man. Security monitoring, $235. That's the guy that comes and services the fire extinguisher system on the hopper. And oh no, that's the next line.
That's your alarm system.
Yeah, security monitoring is the alarm system. And the last line is to inspect, test, and service a hopper suppression system. And at the same time, and for that same price, he does all of our fire extinguishers also.
Well, maintenance on portable toilet systems.
That's back under consumable supplies. I'm glad you mentioned that. But that's included under the consumable supplies.
That will work out for you, okay?
They're working out pretty good. They're working out pretty good. I have, it's a local company that services it. But I have them come on Wednesdays, the first Wednesday of each month, because we're closed. And it develops a little bit of an odor. I'm not too crazy about it myself. I go there and open the warehouse up, and then Mike backs in there. He's in and out in 10 minutes. And he does it all the time, so he's kind of used to it. But yes, Steve, I'd be 100% honest with you, that's worked out very well. A lot better than tearing up that asphalt going across that lot. So I'm pleased with how that's worked out. We spent a lot of money. We spent a lot of money on that. Less, about half. Yep, about half. So it's still 30 grand is a lot of money. But everybody's happy with it. It's for employee use only. No patrons are allowed to use it. To my knowledge, there hasn't been any fussing over that. So I'm an absentee director. I mean, I go down there 2 or 3 times a week. I do some paperwork, but I go there often on days that they're closed because I don't get any sideshow and I can get done what I need to get done about half the time.
Can I make a suggestion, because we are running out of time, is I know in the past few meetings, if you guys have questions online, you've asked the questions instead of having to go through every single individual item.
We're almost done, may need to do that. Well,
Yeah, because you're gonna definitely run out of time, you've got a whole nother budget to go.
No, I got a landfill budget.
Yeah, no, you've got a public works budget.
Oh.
Yeah,
We didn't
so,
go through public works, Sean?
Yeah.
no,
I'm having a good time.
You have in your
So-
mind, but not.
so if they have questions, they'll ask you.
Okay.
We're gonna have to bail this time
Yeah,
in the next 30 minutes.
I guess we do like we have been doing at the other ones.
Okay, so do you want me to just keep doing it as I'm doing?
I mean, honestly, the rest of the line items, I mean, you're down to, you've basically gone through the transfer.
Mhm.
And, I mean, there's not a lot of variance in the remaining items, right?
No, the lease is for the rig down there, drug and alcohol testing won't change. And the tonnage, we've already talked about that.
And not to say that that's, you know, the lack of change is the only important thing. If there's anything notable, if there's any big highlights, I guess,
Yeah.
we should discuss those.
All right, well, this is the last page on the transfer station. Tire removal and disposal. As you can see, we don't have anything there for passenger tires and skid steer tires. All this is lumped into the truck tires. We estimate we use about 15 tons of tires. They go down to the landfill now, but park in the best case scenarios. Ash removal, this is from the burn pit there, located at the transfer station. We're required to test once a year. That's an outside contractor that does that, and it's ridiculous what we have to go through to get the test. The sample has to be below freezing. Now, tell me why an ash sample has to be below freezing. So I have to ship it on the ice, so on and so forth. It's $400 a year. And we removed last year 12 loads of wood ash from the transfer station. 10,500, 6,000. The ash goes to the landfill. It goes to the landfill. It's a different tipping fee for the ash. That's called special waste, as opposed.
So the,
I asked them if they want me to do the same thing.
We need to go to letter.
Let's scan and ask the questions.
you got down here 99, is that going to be changed to 90?
It's 90 for the first 6 months, and then, which I have written confirmation on that. And then they can only allow a 6% increase. And so for the second 6 months, I've used the 6%, which would be the maximum amount it can be, and estimated for 6 months for that. So that number down there is 6 months, the rest of 2024 at $90. And then 6 months of 2025 at 6% higher, which whatever that equals out to be.
Okay, that closes the transfer station, so I guess we go back to.
Since it only takes seconds, let's do a landfill.
Which is right behind that.
Right behind transfer station before we look it up before.
Just ground maintenance.
Yes.
Not the much.
I don't have any questions on the land.
I don't have that.
Great.
I'm sorry.
Okay, there's going to be a couple of adjustments in public works as well. The first is going to be vehicle fuel. Your paperwork probably says 3,500. It was an error, in which the number should read 83,500. That includes diesel fuel, DEF, and gasoline for the Public Works Department.
Still subject to the adjustment that Melissa may come with when she actually does the buy.
Correct.
I've already done that correction for him in the document.
The next adjustment is the next line down, vehicle maintenance. I had originally had a number of 59,500 in here. This project was done back in February, and as the year has progressed, we've saved the money. You know, this line was 70-some thousand 2 years ago. I cut it down to 59,000 last year, and I'm cutting it to 51,000 this year. So in 2 years' time in the leasing program, we're $20,000 ahead on maintenance costs. I suspect that we'll be able to shave some more off of it next year. I don't want to go too much and then cut myself short. And I'm supposed to let you guys ask me, so.
But you needed to make these corrections before they could act.
Okay, yes.
Yes, indeed.
All right, so, well, there's two more small ones. 0087, traffic signs and markers. I have $3,300 there. I've cut that to $3,000. Same reason. I did this budget back in February. We've not used as many signs and markers as I thought that we conceivably might, so I shaved a little bit off.
What did you say, 3,000?
3,000 even. 0092, storm drains. And what this is this is materials to fix the catch basins. And I had 2,200. We bought materials in bulk last year. Instead of buying 100 bricks, we bought a cube of 500 bricks. Instead of buying 5 bags of mortar, we bought a cube of a pallet of mortar. And we saved money that way. And so I shaved this down to 1,900.
So can you just back up to salt, calcium, sand, and gravel? Is that just market changes or is that volume changes?
That's market changes. The salt prices are going up exponentially each year. And so I have not received word of what we're going to be paying this year. I estimated what I thought it might be. And so the volumes,
How much do we have left after a mile equipment?
we have an approximate 1,800 yards left at the garage. Typically, in the past, we budget for 5,000 yards. This year, I budgeted for 4,000, but the price has gone up. The price has gone way up. We're going to spend more for 4,000 than we did for 5,000 last year.
So was asked me multiple times since it was easy winter, how much money did we save dealing with the streets? The fact is, we had a lot of ice. We dumped a whole lot more salt on them than we would otherwise.
So there's 1,100 yards of sand down there right now in that big pile,
I think 1,500 yards.
1,500?
Yeah.
Okay. How many culverts we got left over from last year, and how many did we use?
We have a lot of culverts, and culvert request is down too, for that very reason, because we have some culverts left over. We were able to reuse a lot last year, and we have a good amount down there now, but they're to be used for springtime culverts, which is this fiscal year now, not next fiscal year. But there's a few down there.
Because there were requests made a few years ago that we would take a running total on what jobs would take for material and culverts and different things like that. So we'd have a running total. So when it comes time that we just wouldn't put an arbitrary number in there from the years past, if we've got 30% of the inventory.
We didn't put an arbitrary number. Last year's request was $9,000. This year's request is $7,000. And it's strictly because of culverts that we had left over from last year that'll be able to be transferred over. But we still have 7 or 8 culvert jobs on the books right now for this fiscal year.
So the request was asked by a councilor, are those expenditures being tracked? Like was promised to us?
I don't remember this request. If it was made to me, I don't recall that, but I do have a spreadsheet. With the culvert jobs on them. And so I can tell you how many culverts were used last year to the exact number.
The winter sand and gravel, I can't remember last year, did you screen out your own?
We don't. We buy it already screened.
Do that. You go out and bid for that?
Well, the
Pricing for screenings, you get the prices or just?
it goes out to bid. It goes out to bid and it'll go out, September timeframe of this year. And then whoever gets the bid will haul it. We do most of our own hauling.
Same thing with the gravel, if you're buying that or you can,
We haul the gravel as well. Some gravel we haul right from the pit directly to the job site, depending on the job and the size of the job. And we keep a bid at the compound with about 200 yards in it, just to use as we need.
So you're buying it loaded, $14 unloaded.
No, this should say less than that. Well, I might have $14 last year. I just got gravel prices that'll go on this council meeting, and the winter is going to be $8 a yard.
I'll change that in here as well.
And that's a loaded price in your truck.
That's straight on board. We go pick it up. Yeah. I got prices for them to haul also. Very rarely do I use outside hauling. Very rarely. But I at least have a price if I need it.
You're gonna change that.
The way I usually do business in purchasing stuff that doesn't have to go out for bid is I will call up 3 or 4 or 5 vendors, say, give me your price on culverts. And I get that price. And then I buy the culverts for 1 year, for that business for that price. I do the same with gravel. I do the same with sand, things of that nature. I don't go check prices every time I have to buy something. I do it once a year. And most of the time they guarantee me that price. You know, the gravel price that I just got is for 5,000 yards of gravel. There's no way in the world I'm going to haul 5,000 yards of gravel. I'm going to use it as I need it, but that's what the price is good for. Thank you.
So then the next, I mean, if we're just really trying to maximize the time here, and we're looking at big swings, contractual services, can you discuss that one?
Sure can. Contractual services, let me find the page it is on. We are renting a piece of equipment this year that we have not rented in the past. And it's a compacting roller. And also, we are budgeting in the Public Works budget for the removal of several derelict houses. Now, I may send a Public Works crew to do that, or more likely, I'll hire a contractor to come in. And what we did last year is we got a year before, we got a couple lined up, and then we hired a contractor to come in. It was a sweetened deal for him. He demoed the houses, hauled them away, everybody was happy. And that's really what I'd like to do this year. But it's about $15,000 to demo a house. By the time it's all said and done with the disposal, I got a little spank on the hand for burning the Gollard Hill at the transfer station, so we don't dare to do that again. And so it has to be hauled off site, and all that costs money. And so it's about $15,000 per house. We have a long list of houses that could be demoed.
So it could be done. And so under whose direction is it determined?
Code enforcement begins the process. She's got a list of more than 2 dozen right now that are totally condemnable. We'll get 2 or 3 down this year.
It's just the worst of the worst. Old West.
Well, what's the worst, unless we end up with a legal challenge on one somewhere, and then we move to one that's maybe. You'll measure which house you'd rather live in, with the second floor collapsed or the first floor collapsed.
Sure, and I drive around town,
It's
so I
nothing
get
more.
an idea of what you're talking about, just understanding the priorities.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I always wonder all these abandoned houses.
certainly, yeah, just understanding. So
I'd like to
basically,
take down, I told the code enforcement officer not so long ago, I said, and I knew I was tilting the windmills, I'll take down 40. We're gonna take down 2 or 3 or 4. That's what's gonna happen.
and it's notable, honestly, it's notable.
Oh, this is very much affects the appearance of the community.
It certainly does, even at 2 or 3 right here.
Right, and it's better than taking down none.
Exactly.
Can the fire service do training?
Well, we do that, and we sometimes get away with it, and sometimes, as Dennis said about burning Ballard Hill, we get our wrists slapped. The things that are supposed to happen to a building before it can be used for training, where firefighters go inside it while it's burning, we're spending construction money on the building to get it to that status. So it's a real problem.
Making it safe to burn down.
Making it safe for them to be in it as it's burning, kind of thing.
So honestly too, like, okay, so we're looking at an 85.6 increase and we're looking for a budget for this, for X. But realistically, it's gonna determine on whether that's gonna even happen. right? I mean, this is a budget that may not get fulfilled.
We'll get some down.
Right.
I mean, some of them get to the point that, they don't become just code violations, they become dangerous structures.
Mhm.
And at that point, we'd rather have to, as opposed to suffer the liability.
Sure. So this is a budget to work with, to work on that.
The code enforcement officer condemns a house, and then it's turned over to me, and this, whether we take it down or I hire a contractor, but it comes out of that right there. Regardless of what avenue we go to get it done, that's what pays for it.
And so the property belongs to the town, so you have the ability to sell that property.
Only if we take it, we can take the structure as a dangerous structure and leave the title of the land with the people.
Why would you do that? Why would you, I take the title of the land so you could recoup some of the costs of demo?
In the places where most of these houses are and what's around them, the other three around them that also should come down, we're looking at $5,000 for a lot, maybe $1,000. For one.
We have done that a few times. I mean, that one up on Taylor Street, we
That's
took
the
that.
taxes. We owned that property already.
That was
We
taken
had,
on
we had
taxes.
taken on taxes and took the building down because it was a dangerous building. So we did recoup some on that one by selling the land, but we had already owned it before we even took that structure down. The town had foreclosed on it.
William Street, we took that one too.
That
Yeah.
one, we don't own that land though. That one was taken down. William Street was not a,
As a dangerous
Yeah.
structure, I assume the land still belongs to the bank.
So
We're
we,
running out of time. Any other line items that jump up? But that's before.
I
we
think
have
only
to-
just the equipment line item, really. Just any notable discussion on the equipment line item.
The equipment line item, all of these are the lease payments. All of these vehicles are leased. And so the corresponding number is the lease payment for each one. And I want to reiterate, we have $197,900 in lease payments. And to buy a tandem axle dump truck is $220,000. So we're leasing all these for the same price that we buy, purchase a truck from.
You were leasing them last year, and it was only 136,000.
We added on to it.
You added a bit.
Yeah, truck number 13. Truck number 13 is the last one in our fleet to be replaced with the lease program. And so we do that, then this number stays the same unless we decide to lease something else, which I can't see that. Looking forward, I can't see another lease payment, leasing another piece of equipment or a truck for a while.
That's like 3 to 5 years.
Children?
No, I'm all set.
Steve?
I'm also-
Wanda?
Yes, thank you.
David? No? Well, I think we can close it 10 minutes early.
You did well.
Appreciate your time, your candor, and from my personal point of view, I commend somebody that works for the government but thinks like a business.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dennis.
You have a very large load.
all right, so are you,
We are officially closed. Turn the button, Brett.
I will start working on these notes that you folks. Hopefully by this week.
Will it be a,
Just turn off your microphone.
for you,
Hold the button down.
and I guess one